I hear the voices of the preacher from the back room, calling my name and I follow just to find you. I trace the faith through a broken down television. I wanna get better. While my friends were getting high and chasing girls down parkway lines, I was losing my mind because the love that I gave wasted on a nice face. In a blaze of fear, I put a helmet on a helmet, counting seconds through the night and got carried away. So now I'm standing on the overpass, screaming at the cars. Hey, I wanna get better. Didn't know I was broken till I wanted to change. I wanna get better, I wanna get better.
Welcome to another edition of Adobe Create Now Online. This is the Design, Web and Publishing Show. We also have a digital imaging show and a video and motion graphics show, so do check those out. Each show will be joined by a whole range of fantastically talented creative professionals from the UK and the Nordics. They'll be giving us their unique take on the features and applications that they use the most to maximise their creativity since the launch of the Creative Cloud. We'll also be taking a look at some of the newest features and applications from the latest release of the Creative Cloud, launched at Adobe Max in October. So if you work in design, web or publishing, you really don't want to miss out on the creative insights that we have lined up for you. We have an incredibly packed show for you. Designer Martin Perhiniak will be joining me throughout the show to share his recent work and his tips for getting the most out of the design applications. We'll be taking a look at the latest Illustrator CC Touch-enabled application launched at Adobe Max in LA. SNASK Agency will be taking us on a journey from digital to reality using Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop CC, as well as sharing their favourite Creative Cloud features. Digital artist and author Steve Caplin will be sharing his favourite Photoshop 3D features, turning photos into 3D models, creating models from scratch and even printing. Gone are the days of painstakingly extracting image assets and CSS from Photoshop documents. We'll be taking a look at the Creative Cloud Extract functionality in action, presented by the Adobe product managers from Adobe Max in LA. Thinkable Agency will be sharing their Creative Cloud top features and showing us how it's enabled them to collaborate seamlessly across multiple teams when developing a mobile application. Multidiscipline designer Sampo Kokela will be sharing his experiences around producing and publishing to mobile devices from Adobe InDesign CC. We'll be looking at the fantastically connected creative profile, which lets you access your assets, brushes and settings right from within your creative desktop applications. Adobe's Tony Harmer will be running through what he's most excited by in the latest release of the Creative Cloud for designers. And we're going to see how to make the most out of your creative online profile to get you up to speed with the latest enhancements with the Creative Cloud community offering. Rupert Knowles will be giving us an overview of Edge Animate and Dreamweaver new features and updates. And creative director Andrew Cooper will be sharing his experiences and creative insights from his time working in the industry and how he and his creative agency Gravity Matrix work with Adobe Muse CC. And we'll have more from Adobe Max as we take a look at how the powerful new creative mobile iOS applications enable you to capture, create, edit or share your work on the move. We'll also take a look into the future to see innovation in action with a sneak peek at Project Context. You can join the conversation on Twitter using the hashtag #CreateNow to let us know what you think as you watch the show and to enter our competition. Here are the details. We really want to hear from you, so take part in our Twitter competition by sending in a creative tweet to tell us about your top Creative Cloud features. Our Adobe panel of judges will select their favourite tweet from each Northern European country, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland and the UK. The winners will receive a 12-month membership to the Creative Cloud. But not only that, the overall tweet from all the regions will win a Microsoft Surface Pro 3. So get posting your tweets using the hashtag hashtag #CreateNow. The competition is open from midday on the 10th of November till midnight on the 13th of November. And you can see full details, terms and conditions at this URL. Good luck. Now, I'm delighted to welcome designer Martin Perhiniak to the show. Martin, thanks so much for being here.
It's great to be here, thank you.
Jolly good, jolly good. Now, Martin works as a designer, but you also do a lot of training of Adobe products, don't you? Can you tell us how you got into doing that?
Yeah, that's actually an interesting story because I always wanted to teach, although I was into design. I always like to share my passion about design. And Adobe has this certification system, which is great. You can become an expert. And you can also become a certified instructor. So I actually became one through doing all these exams for Adobe. Yeah. And then through the Adobe system, I got to work in London, but I actually got all kinds of different...
Because you're from Hungary, actually.
Yeah, I'm from Hungary. I started working there. Actually, I was one of the first instructors or certified instructors in Hungary. But then, thanks to all these exams, I got to work in England at one of the leading Adobe training centers. Yeah. And then after that, I started doing design here. So I try to strike a balance between doing both teaching and doing the design. It's
a nice mix, isn't it? A lot of our professionals that we work with at Adobe do keep both of those sides going. But you must be kept really busy keeping up to date with the latest releases now, right?
Of course, yes. There's so many new features all the time, constantly.
Yeah. Great stuff. So I'd love to see some of your work. Would you talk us through a few of your projects?
Of course. I'm going to show it on Behance. This is a great way to showcase your portfolio as a designer. And I worked in the recent years, I worked on really interesting projects. Like for Disney, I did licensing design, and I had worked on projects like Cars and Toy Story. And these are the things that you design and then it shows up all around the world. So all the licensees will buy these and they use it on their products. So that was an interesting project I worked on. Then I do also digital art, illustration, and these are the things, again, I do in Photoshop. And this is used on all kinds of different places. I do web design, and I worked for companies like Mattel, and again, I did these posters for them. So yeah, it's all been really fun working for these companies.
It's really varied, the work that you do then, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I didn't even talk about retouching. I do a lot of retouching, like beauty retouching for magazines and all kinds of different things.
This keeps life very interesting and busy for you, hey?
Definitely, yes.
So I know that you work a lot with Photoshop and also Illustrator and the other Creative Cloud services you use as well. But we're going to start off with Illustrator because you've kindly pulled together the key features that you work with all the time, haven't you, since the launch of Creative Cloud?
Yes, that's right. I'm going to start with a couple of features in Illustrator. So I just highlighted some of my favorite features, so it's not an extensive list. But one of the things I really like, and this is a great addition to all the features we have in Illustrator, is called corner widgets and live shapes. And essentially what happens when you use this is you can click on any corner and you can turn it into a rounded corner, quite similarly to what we already had in InDesign. That also was recently introduced, but now we have the same option here. And of course you can do this on one corner or more corners at the same time. But the best thing is when you actually apply it to more abstract shapes, like even this one here. When you use these corner widgets, by the way, you have to have the direct selection tool selected to see them. When you do that, it actually applies to all the corners of these shapes. And then you can see that when you are working, let's say, on branding and you do logo design, this is a great way to come up with variations on the same theme. So you can see how easy it is to do, just select them and change the corner back and forth. And it's non-destructive.
And so this is really saving you a lot of time working in
Definitely, definitely. And also not just saving time, but opening up new ways to do things. As a designer, it's very important to be inspired. And if an application can inspire you, that's a great thing.
So you actually get inspired by the new features to try out new things within your designs.
Exactly.
It's fantastic.
It's always, or sometimes it's like a happy accident that really pushes the design further, and these are invaluable, these features for that.
So this is a real benefit for the fact that you make sure that you're always up to date with the latest features.
Exactly, exactly. It's very, very useful to do that. Well, the other feature which is also really cool is the touch type tool.
Yes, I love this tool. It's brilliant.
Yeah, so this, again, to make your typography more interesting, you can just select any of the characters, and without turning it into outlines, so it's still an editable text, you can make any changes to it. So you can first of all resize each character, then you can move it around, and you can also even rotate them. And you can see how all the other characters in the text will realign based on that change.
Yeah.
So that makes it really interesting, really easy to make these more funky effects on typography, but still keep it editable.
Yeah.
And of course, another great thing which was introduced in CC is the type kit, which makes it very easy to get both desktop and web fonts, which then you can synchronize between your applications, and you can even filter them out. So if you click on Apply Type Kit Filter, you can find whatever is on your computer at the moment.
Yeah, so this is great. So these are web fonts originally that are now being available, a lot of them now, to download to your desktop to work in any of your desktop applications.
Exactly, and it also helps a lot when you have missing fonts, which is quite an annoying thing.
Yeah.
To find those missing fonts, maybe download them directly from your Creative Cloud membership. That makes it so much easier to work.
In fact, Illustrator actually suggests that it sorts that out for you now, doesn't it? If
Exactly.
it opens it up, the fonts are missing, it'll ask you, do you want me to
Yes,
fix
when you
this
open
problem
a
for you?
document, it comes up automatically.
Yeah, fantastic.
Then another thing which actually saved days in my work is the image brushes in Illustrator. In Photoshop, you can also create custom brushes, but you are restricted to a grayscale color mode, so you can only have black and white colors. But in Illustrator now you can create pattern brushes or even other scatter brushes using photographs. So for example, when I do retouching on jewelry as well, and sometimes when they take pictures of jewelry, like the necklace is not in the correct way, and then you actually, in post-production, you have to realign it. And to be able to do that with this tool, it just saves so much time. So you can see I just picked this little section of the chain out, just so I can then repeat that. And once I go into the brushes, I can just simply drag and drop this image. So I just simply drag and drop it there, and then I choose pattern brush, click on OK, and then I just simply click on OK again here. And once I have all this set up, so it was fairly easy to do that. Once I have this set up, I can just simply create anything even with the pencil tool and apply the chain.
Fantastic.
And the cool thing, that's also a new feature, whenever you use the pencil tool, you can also switch to the smooth tool easily, or of course you can change it to the brush tool as well. So essentially, once you saved it as a brush, you can draw anything with that tool, and you can create amazing shapes.
You can choose the way in which the corners happen as well within that tool, can't you? You've got
exactly.
lots of flexibility.
If you have a bit more time, you can set it up perfectly. So then you can just draw nice chains.
And of course, we've got a fantastic new app as well, mobile app for the Creative Cloud, that you can create brushes as well, which you can then bring into Illustrator. So we'll see that in action a little bit later. Martin, thank you so much for sharing those tips with us. Do stay tuned, because Martin will be back later in the show to show his top Photoshop CC features. He'll also be talking about the other services that he uses as part of the Creative Cloud. But now it's time to take a look at the newly enabled touch functionality within Illustrator CC. We're going to go over to Adobe Max.
Voice of a preacher from the back room, calling my name and I follow just to find you. I trace the faith through a broken down television. I wanna get better. While my friends were getting high and chasing girls down parkway lines, I was losing my mind because the love that I gave wasted on a nice face. In a blaze of fear, I put a helmet on a helmet, counting seconds through the night and got carried away. So now I'm standing on the overpass, screaming out the cars. Hey, I wanna get better. Get better.
And Michael is going to share with all of us the latest release of a product that we all love and know, Adobe Illustrator, with magical support for touch. Take it away, Michael.
Thank you, Paul. So what we're seeing here is the full version of Adobe Illustrator running on a Microsoft Surface Pro 3 with the keyboard attached. What we've done is we've developed a new workspace that takes advantage of the unique characteristics of this two-in-one device, notably the touchscreen and the pressure-sensitive pen. Now, as you might expect, if we take the keyboard off the Surface Pro 3, Illustrator automatically switches to this new workspace. And you'll see it kind of looks instantly familiar, but a little bit different at the same time. Now, it being a touch device, of course, we've got the gesture support for panning and zooming, as you might expect, but there's much more to it than that. We've actually developed a new set of tools and new interactions to get this to work. There we go. OK, so one of the first new tools I'm going to show is the touch curvature tool. I'm going to go ahead and draw a heart shape. Now, you may think that's an actually easy shape to draw. It's actually pretty complex if you've never mastered the regular pen tool. As I draw, you'll see I get a nice little preview of the curves I'm going to get as I hover over the canvas. Because I want to draw a heart shape, I want this to be a corner point. So to convert that, I just double tap and keep drawing. Go down to the bottom of the heart. Again, I want that to be a corner point, so I double tap to convert it, and I go back to the end to complete it. So you'll notice I didn't have to switch between different versions of the pen tool. I didn't have to know secret keyboard shortcuts. Best of all, I didn't have to deal with those Bezier handles. Who thinks that's awesome? All right. So as I complete that heart, I want to go ahead and give it a red fill and stroke. And I showed you a second ago, we had the gesture support for panning and zooming. You can use those same gestures to directly manipulate objects. Bum, 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 bum. I really like touch. I can even rotate just using the rotate gesture and so forth. This just really changes how it feels to work inside Illustrator, being able to directly manipulate those objects on the screen. One of the things I do often when I'm creating logos or icons in Illustrator is that I'll trace a reference image. I'm going to go ahead and trace this avocado using that touch curvature tool again. And you'll see as I'm doing this, I'm not really having to think about it all that much. I'm just dropping down points, and Illustrator's automatically creating those pleasing curves. If I need to adjust a point on a path, I just tap and drag it to its new position. Again, not having to deal with the Beziers if I don't want to. Go ahead and draw the pitch shape as well. And let's go ahead and finish this off by styling it with some swatches. You'll notice that as I'm working on the Surface Pro, sometimes I'm switching to my finger, sometimes I'm switching to the stylus. It really doesn't matter. It's whatever's more comfortable at any given moment as you're working through the interface. And there's that finished avocado. All right, let's take a look at what it's like to create a logo exploration just using some basic shapes. I'll go ahead and draw 3 circles here, like so, 3 different sizes. And we'll draw a couple diagonal lines as well. And to turn this into a logo, I actually want to select all these objects and then align them. We have a new touch-optimized version of the Align panel as well. So instead of that grid of 12 little icons you get to memorize in InDesign, Illustrator, or Photoshop, watch what happens as I hover over that touch panel with the stylus. Yeah, pretty sweet. You get a little preview of what's going to happen. So I can align them all at the top, or I'll just tap the center to align them in the centers. I'm going to switch to one of my favorite tools in Illustrator. It's the Shape Builder tool. And that's used to quickly merge or subtract overlapping shapes. It's a lot more fun when you use it with a stylus. I joke, I call it Pathfinder on a stick. I'm going to go ahead and choose my fill color. And I'm just going to quickly merge the shapes that I want to combine into this logo exploration. I'll switch to an orange, pick that shape there. I'm going to switch the subtract mode. I'm just going to quickly swipe through and draw through the elements I don't want to make up that logo. To finish this off, we'll go ahead and get rid of that stroke. And you can see, just with a few basic shapes, using that Align panel and then using Shape Builder with that stylus, dare I say it's actually fun to experiment inside Illustrator here. Awesome. All right, one of the things that I love about the Surface Pro 3 is being able to draw directly on the screen with this very precise, pressure-sensitive stylus. You can see I've got the variable strokes. The harder I press, the thicker the stroke, of course. I'm going to go ahead and complete this leaf drawing. So I'm going to lower the brush width just a little bit. Get it to where I want it. When you're nervous, your hand is shaking just a little bit. All right, so I'm going to draw in some of those additional leaves. And you'll see as I do this, I'm not really all that accurate, am I? Some of the paths are open, some of them are overlapping. because I want to show you yet another new tool. It's called the Join tool. And watch what happens when I simply draw over those paths. Awesome. All right, to finish that off, let's go ahead and give it a green fill color. And we'll switch back to that brush tool and paint in those center lines. Awesome. All right, in June we released Ink and Slide, and you saw the digital version of that, the touch slide ruler. I don't know about you, but as an Illustrator user, I was really jealous. It's like, man, I want that inside Illustrator. Anyone agree? So in the new Touch workspace, we have the new stencil tool. And you'll see that we've got some shapes that I can draw with, trace with. I've got the French curves. So I can go ahead and make that French curve just a little bit bigger, scale and rotate it. And this makes it easy to create these really complex curves, as long as I have a stroke color you guys can actually see. There you go. So I can just trace on screen directly with that and do that a couple times. I'll switch to the digital ruler, and there's that touch slide ruler to draw parallel lines and keep them in parallel as I draw. So let's go ahead and draw the first line, draw a second one, and I'm going to create a lightning bolt really quick, just by knocking out these lines. We'll rotate that into position, and we'll draw two more to finish this off. I can scale that down just a little bit. And then to finish this off, again, I'll go back to that shape builder tool, and we'll just merge the lines that we care about, and we'll get rid of the lines we don't. So you can see it's just a little playful experience to draw directly on the screen like that. And there you have it. That's just a taste. It's just a taste of what it's like to use Illustrator on a 2-in-1 device. I guarantee you, if you try this yourselves, it's going to be really hard to go back to use Illustrator with a mouse. Thank you very much.
We really want to hear from you, so take part in our Twitter competition by sending in a creative tweet to tell us about your top Creative Cloud features. Our Adobe panel of judges will select their favourite tweet from each Northern European country: Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland and the UK. The winners will receive a 12-month membership to the Creative Cloud. But not only that, the overall tweet from all the regions will win a Microsoft Surface Pro 3. So get posting your tweets using the hashtag #CreateNow. The competition is open from midday on the 10th of November till midnight on the 13th of November. And you can see full details, terms and conditions at this URL. Good luck. It's time to join my colleague Johan now, who is in Stockholm with Creative Director Fredrik Oost from digital agency SNASK.
Hey, I hear the voice of the preacher from the back room, calling my name and I follow just to find you. I trace the faith to a broken down television. I wanna get better. While my friends were getting high and chasing girls down Parkway lines, I was losing my mind because the love that I gave, wasted on a nice face. In a blaze of fear, I put a helmet on a helmet, counting seconds through the night and got carried away. So now I'm standing on the overpass, screaming at the cars. Hey, I wanna get better. I didn't know I was broken till I wanted to change. I wanna get better,
Thanks, Aona. Today I'm sitting with Creative Director Fredrik Oost from the agency SNASK. Actually, I've been here before you, as our Swedish viewers may recognize. We've been here and talking about creative entrepreneurship.
Yep.
Yeah. And thanks for having us back.
No problem, you're always welcome.
Today we're going to be talking about your favorite Creative Cloud tools, as well as you're going to give us some insights into how you use these tools and your favorite features, SNASK's favorite features, to create the amazing project for Malmo Festival.
Yep, and the Malmo Festival was actually a project where we turned a poster into actual physical area that was standing physically in Malmo, city of Malmo, for 8 consecutive days in August 2014. So should we go ahead and start?
Yeah, let's
I
go.
guess we can follow the process of what we did.
Yeah.
Basically, we used Illustrator. And what we really like about Illustrator, of course, is vectors. That's like, it goes without saying. But we really like the feature that you are able to draw up precise models because everything is built on mathematics. So I mean, an M could be like 10 centimeters, so it could be many meters. So we basically, that's a really good feature when we do things by hand, to be able to plan it, sketch it, and do everything from the beginning. Even using like other type of typefaces, you can just vectorize them and make them scalable in the right size. I think another feature that we like is be able to outline logotypes or whatever, just to make clients not to fiddle too much with our design, I guess. So after using the vectors, we take it into Cinema 4D, where we build it up because we have to be 30 meters above, and to be able to calculate if it's 15 meters or 30 meters, because the angle cuts off the actual typeface. We had to take it into Cinema 4D, so we just took the sketch from Illustrator into Cinema 4D, built up the height of the letters, and then we could see from what angle we had to be. So we had to go up 30 meters in a crane, and both me and Jens are scared of heights, so that was a very, very interesting thing. And then from there we went into Photoshop. And in Photoshop, we basically do everything. We clean it up, we make sure it's ready, and I guess that one of the favorite tools in this one is merging layers.
Yeah.
And it's because clients shouldn't fiddle with it too much. So we kind of like that. Also, of course, you can make mock-ups and build by hand later. So that's also one of the features that we like a lot. Anecdote about this project is it stood for 8 consecutive days, and a kid actually got stuck in one of our topography. So you could say that children got into our graphic design very much at this festival. That's something good, as you can see on the photo here. He's very happy, I would say. So that's it.
Thanks very much. I think people can be very surprised to see a project like this one and look at it at the first instance. And the first thing they would say is, "Oh, that was made in 3D." But it looks like, you know, you guys have been using Photoshop, Illustrator, and you said Cinema 4D, but it was just used as to make your jobs easier to, you know,
to calculate. Yeah.
But
it's not used for design. No one wants to design in 3D.
It's just
horrible.
But this is amazing. I mean, it's a great project. It's a very cool project. Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. And I want to add to everyone who says that 3D is, you could make this in 3D. You can, but you can't place it out in the real life. Because then you would have to do something else.
So this was basically built from, you know,
from vectors, basically.
From vectors.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you took it in real life over to 3D objects, and which people can sit on and you know,
exactly
have what we call in Sweden a fika break.
Coffee and buns, cinnamon buns would be preferred, and hopefully 5 times a day if my mom can decide. Also, what's interesting is that we could send the files from Illustrator straight into a machine that cut out wood. That's very interesting. Yeah. So we knew that it would be precise, exactly that design that would come out in the end.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much, guys, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Hey, I hear the voice of a preacher from the back room, calling my name and I follow just to find you. I trace the faith to a broken down television. I wanna get better. While my friends were getting high and chasing girls down parkway lines, I was losing my mind because the love that I gave wasted on a nice face in a
I'm delighted to have digital artist and author Steve Caplin here with me now. Steve, thank you so much for joining me.
Great to be back.
You're going to be taking us on a bit of a 3D Photoshop tour, aren't you?
That's right, yeah.
Fantastic. Before that, though, can you explain a little bit about how you work with Photoshop 3D?
I've been doing photo montage illustrations for newspapers and magazines for a very long time. And the 3D features started to appear in Photoshop a few years ago, and I thought, well, that's quite interesting. I can't imagine how I'd use them. And then one day I got a commission from the Sunday Telegraph newspaper, who wanted an image of a train going away and jumping off a railway track. You can look online, you can find plenty of pictures of trains coming towards you, but none of them going away. And I thought, how on earth am I going to do this? I found a 3D model online of a train, brought it into Photoshop. I could view it from any angle, turn it around, place it where I wanted it, and I thought, this is the way to do it. Rather than finding photographs of exactly what you need from exactly the right angle, you can get a 3D model of an object, position it, light it, render it, and there it is exactly as you want it.
Fantastic. So Photoshop's really, really useful for working with and manipulating 3D models, but also there's some functionality in there for 3D printing now, right?
That's absolutely right. And I got into 3D printing a couple of years ago. And I was thrilled to find out that Photoshop now supports 3D printing directly. And this means you're able to make objects and produce them in the real world. So here's a little mashup I did of some legs made in Poser, figure modeling program, the top made in Photoshop, and the whole thing printed out, and I can print this directly from Photoshop. That's an extraordinary thing. You can, anything you can imagine, you can now not only design, you can actually print one.
And Photoshop does all the kind of hard work for you in terms of building any scaffolding and structure and support, right?
Exactly. There are some definite practical uses of this as well, and I'm going to show you just two examples of the kind of things that you can do with 3D modeling and 3D printing in Photoshop.
Great, let's take a look.
So, a friend of mine has a rather nice wooden chess set, and he recently lost one of the pawns from his chess set. And he said, well, could I think of a way of making one of these, because I can do it with a wood turning, or maybe I could make it on a lathe. And I thought, well, that's going to be very difficult. Maybe I could print it instead. So here's what I did. I took his chess set and I drew a pen path around it. So just tracing around the photograph of one of his existing pawns. Rather than undercutting here, I made that into a slight curve so that it'd be easier to print. And as you can see, I'm just drawing around the shape of this pawn until I get to here. And there is our pen path. Let's hide our original photograph. We can now take that pen path and make a 3D extrusion from it. And here it comes. And as you can see, all it's done is stretch that out backwards. What I want to do is to set the extrusion to 0, and instead I want to rotate it. So we can revolve it 360 degrees.
Around its axis.
Around the center, this is where it happens initially. You can change the axis to rotate it around the left, and there is the pawn. So, you know, a couple of minutes, we've taken that photograph of the pawn, traced the outline, and then there is the printed pawn.
Fantastic. So the chessboard is back in action again.
The chessboard is now back in action, and it looks exactly like the pawn that it replicates.
That's fantastic. And also within Photoshop, if you don't have access to a 3D printer, there's a service, isn't there, that you can...
That's right. There's a couple of bureaus that you can upload your models to. They will print them for you in an astonishing range of materials, from plastic to platinum. Which gets kind of pricey.
But it gives you the prices, doesn't it, as you're kind of selecting your options?
It gives you the prices, prepared to be horrified by some of the higher end ones.
But it means that anybody now can 3D print from Photoshop, which is great and very exciting for a lot of product designers and developers, as well as for those of us at home who want to make plastic objects to hold mobile phones in and that kind of thing. Great, thank you very much, Steve.
Let me give you another example of how easy it is to make a 3D object. So I'm going to take a model here, a photograph. So this is simply a photograph of a beetle. And it's a beetle photographed, and I've cut it out so there's taken the background away. It is no more than a photograph.
Yep.
What I can do is take that layer and say, make a 3D extrusion from it. And what this will do is stretch this beetle out so it just extrudes that downwards, as you can see. There we go. What I want to do is take the extrusion way down so it makes it very, very much thinner. And instead, I'm going to use this rather interesting technique called inflation. So I'm going to click on that again, and I can blow this beetle up as if I'm pumping it up full of air.
And you're doing all of this from the on-screen widget, aren't you?
I'm
real
using the
change.
head-up display, exactly.
Yeah.
It means rather than going to the panels and setting all these things with sliders, setting them numerically, you look at the image itself, you click on it, you drag.
It's a much more tactile experience, isn't it?
Because in Photoshop, if it looks right, it is right. We're not worried about the scaffolding going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
If it looks right, that's what you want to get. And there, in just seconds, is our 3D beetle made from a flat photograph, which we can then go ahead and print out.
Lovely. You don't want to come across him on a dark night, though, do you?
You don't, but we know he's made of plastic.
Yeah, wonderful. Isn't that great?
So just two examples of really how easy it is to make your 3D models, and if you have access to a 3D printer, or even go and buy a 3D printer, they're getting cheaper and cheaper all the time.
They are. Steve, thank you so much for bringing your wonderful 3D objects along and showing us how easy it is to work with Photoshop 3D. We really want to hear your thoughts on what you've seen so far, so do get in touch with us via Twitter using the hashtag #CreateNow. And if you've made anything in Photoshop using 3D, do send us a photo as well. We really want to hear from you, so take part in our Twitter competition by sending in a creative tweet to tell us about your top Creative Cloud features. Our Adobe panel of judges will select their favourite tweet from each Northern European country: Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland and the UK. The winners will receive a 12-month membership to the Creative Cloud. But not only that, the overall tweet from all the regions will win a Microsoft Surface Pro 3. So get posting your tweets using the hashtag #CreateNow. The competition is open from midday on the 10th of November till midnight on the 13th of November. And you can see full details, terms and conditions at this URL. Good luck. Designer Martin Perhiniak is back again with me now. And Martin, this time you're going to show us your ultimate Photoshop CC features, aren't you?
Yes, that's right. These are the features that I selected because they really saved a lot of time, and also enabled me to do things differently than before.
Okay, so they're enhancing your creativity as well.
Exactly.
Great, let's take a look.
So there's a nice photo I took in Singapore, and I just want to show you how I use the blur gallery.
Yeah.
Well, the most important thing in Photoshop is to work non-destructively, so you can make changes easily. And that's a great thing because once you turn an image into a smart object, you can apply any of these filters now, even liquify, and they will work non-destructively as a smart filter.
Yeah.
So for example, if I go into the blur gallery, I can choose, for example, tilt shift, and I can set up a blur here on the buildings. As soon as I set up the filter, on the right side we can apply bokeh effect, for example light bokeh and color, and you can start to see how nicely it will recreate that effect that you can get on the camera, but in post-production. And then you can change this easily, you can rotate it around, you can change the intensity of it, and once you apply it, it's actually become a smart filter, so you can always make changes to it. But the best thing about blur gallery is now you have also the spin blur, which saves so much time for me, because these things, like on cars, when you have to make the wheel spin, Now you can again do that with the blur gallery. You don't have to struggle using different blur options and other ways to do it. You can just simply go to the blur gallery again on a smart object. You just simply choose spin blur, and then you can place this on the actual wheel. And the best thing about this, you can actually add more of these spins on the same image in one filter.
So you can have multiple wheels spinning. You don't have to create new layers all the way through.
Exactly.
Right.
Again, saves so much time.
Yeah, and we're seeing more and more of these kind of on-stage editing widgets as well. Is that saving you a lot of time? Is it a nicer way to work?
Definitely, and it also makes it more user-friendly. So it's as an instructor, it's easier to explain it to my students.
Yeah.
While in all the blur filters, it might be a little bit confusing how it works. These are definitely more user-friendly.
Fantastic. What have we got up next?
The next thing is about camera raw.
Yeah.
In camera raw, we also have some amazing things. I mean, you can do retouching in Photoshop, but now you can also do retouching directly in your raw files in the Adobe Camera Raw engine.
Yeah.
Because you have the spot removal tool, with which you can not only just click on an area, but you can also draw over that area. And that helps you to really find those details that you want to change.
Yeah.
So that again saves so much time. Plus, you also have another way to visualize details or spots in the image. So if I open up this image here in Camera Raw, and I again select the spot removal tool, we have this option here on the right called Visualize Spots, where you can really find in the image where you have those little dust.
The imperfections in there.
Yeah, exactly, and you can remove it easily. It took actually quite a long time before we had this feature. And another one, also Camera Raw. I just quickly show you these couple of features in Camera Raw.
Yeah.
This is called the upright feature,
Yeah.
which is under lens corrections, and you can choose different types of upright. But again, you have images where it's almost impossible to get the image right because it has so much perspective distortion.
And if the camera's tilted, anything like that is going to
So like
take
this
away from
photo
it.
has everything in the image I needed,
Yeah.
but obviously it's not in a good angle. It has a lot of perspective distortion. So as soon as I apply the upright feature, it's going to do everything automatically. I don't need to do anything manually. So that's again can save so much time. And some images which I wouldn't be able to use, now it's possible to work with them.
And of course now you can select that empty bit of the frame and fill it with some content-aware fill, and you're not having to do too much cropping anymore.
Exactly. That again saves so much time. Then the next thing I wanted to show is a generator, which is again, especially for people in web design and user interface design, this is such a great feature. Actually, what happens with generator is that it creates image assets on the go based on whatever you name your layers.
Yeah.
So if you use layer naming, which you should, especially when you work with a lot of layers, then you can add these things like header.jpg, and you can even add numbers to specify the quality that you want to save it into. And as you can see here on this group, which is the header in this web design, I also have a header high JPEG 10, which means the same group is going to be saved out in two separate files. So if I go to Bridge, and there is my course page assets, if I go into that, I can see that I already have these files saved on the go. And if I go back to Photoshop, I can just show you, whoever wants to use this option, just make sure you go into the assets under generate image assets. That's what you need to
make sure that's selected.
Exactly.
And you can specify the sizes in terms of the dimensions of the image as well as the quality, can't you?
So
and
many
different
things.
image formats as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to look into what's possible.
Yeah.
So all the specifications that you can write, the sizes, and also when this first came out, this generator option, it was only possible, I think, to type up to 64 characters for a layer name, but now it's, I think, up to 256, so you have plenty of space to add as many versions as you want.
Absolutely, absolutely. Generator was my personal favourite feature when it came out above everything else, having made a lot of images for web and multi-platform production in the past, which is it's a painstaking task, isn't it? It's very, very boring having to slice things up and then specify the names and the place in which you're saving it, the image format every single time for every image.
So here you don't have to work with slices. You don't have to reposition the slices because all you need to worry about is your layers and naming them. And once you do that, this generator is working in the background simultaneously. So it's a brilliant feature.
Absolutely. And actually, we've got some new updates to that image extraction functionality. So stay tuned for that. It's coming up next. Martin, what have you got to show us now?
Okay, so the next feature I would like to talk about is layer comps. Again, this is something that has been around in Photoshop, but now it's improved and you can actually do very interesting things with it. It's actually now combined with smart objects. Smart objects are my all-time favorite in Photoshop. And I just wanted to show that when you use a smart object like this here, obviously I have this poster designed separately, but then I used it in this comp, in this mock-up, as a smart object. It's actually a linked smart object, which I'm going to also talk about soon. But once you go into the properties panel, that's where you see the new addition, where you can actually choose a layer comp from the smart object. So if there's already set up some layer comps inside the smart object, you can select them. So if I change to version 2, for example, I don't have to actually go back to that file and change things around, and you can see I have that version where I only have the tree in a bit smaller, and then I can go back to the other one when I present my work to someone and just simply switch these from the properties panel. So that's again saves so much time.
Fantastic. So you've got documents embedded within other documents, but you're able to also access not just what's currently there, but all the layer comps that you've previously set up.
Exactly.
Brilliant, time-saving things.
And now that I mentioned smart objects and linked smart objects, let me also show you something really cool about that. I have here a set again of these are mock-ups, stationaries for a branding project, where I have obviously the logo several times used. So whenever you work on stuff like this, in previous versions of Photoshop, you would have to change each of these individually if something updates. And of course, with branding, there's so many stages you have to go through. So let's say we need to change this. Because I use this new feature, when you actually place a linked file, so not embedded smart object, but a linked smart object, in that case, the original logo is going to update automatically. So if I open that file up in Illustrator, it's actually also linked to Illustrator. So I'm going into Illustrator, I select this little bird here and I'm going to change the color. Then I have to also save here in Illustrator, so make sure you don't forget that. Go to File and Save, and once it's saved, Photoshop is going to recognize that and change the colors. And just going back to the previous feature, if you use layer comps, you can also change all the other brand colors very easily. And the good thing about linked smart objects as well is it means that your Photoshop document isn't going to end up massive in size, right? Exactly.
So what about when you come to maybe share that document with someone else? Is there a way of packaging all of those linked elements up?
I was so happy when that was introduced because obviously in InDesign we had the package feature. But in Photoshop, if you use a linked smart object, which of course can be used in several documents as well, so that's the great thing about it. Once you want to save that out and make sure that it's going to be saved together with all the linked smart object, you just have to go to the File menu and choose Package. And that works exactly the same way as in InDesign or Illustrator, and then you can easily send that all together to your clients or to your colleagues.
Great, so time saving and also keeping your projects more agile as well there, lightweight.
More organized.
Yes, good stuff.
And then I have one more feature I would like to show, and that's the perspective warp, with which I just show quickly 2 examples. Of course, you can use it on photographs like this when you took the photo, but then you realize you actually wanted to take it from a different angle. Now it's possible. It's almost like a 3D application, really. You go to the Edit menu, you choose Perspective Warp, and all you need to do is to design or draw a plane, and then just set it up onto the building, as I'm just doing it now. Once you have all 4 corners in place, then you can just simply press Enter. And once you did that, you can then start turning the building around and you can choose your point of view. So that changes the perspective. But it's actually not only useful on buildings and landscape photography, but even on packaging. This is another design that I did for a toy packaging. And it's actually just, again, a mock-up from a flat design that we had to just show to the client. But
so this isn't a 3D object, this is a flat mock-up of a 3D object.
Exactly. But as soon as I turn it into, let's say the client wants to see it a little bit from a different angle, of course, because it's not 3D, I would have to recreate everything. But thanks to the perspective warp, which I'm using also as a smart object here, and if I just turn that back on, it will change the angle of the view. So even if just ever so slightly you need to change it, or maybe the proportions of your design, you can do that, and it's almost impossible to tell that it's been distorted.
Fantastic. So this is enabling you to do things that you just couldn't do before, or you could do, but it would take you a really long time.
Exactly.
Okay, great. Martin, thank you so much for that. Now, we've seen a little bit of the functionality within Photoshop to enable you to extract image assets, but we're going to take a deeper look at the brand new extract functionality across different applications now, as I hand over to the product managers at Adobe Max.
I hear the voice of a preacher from the back room, calling my name and I follow just to find you. I trace the faith through a broken down television. I wanna get better. While my friends were getting high and chasing girls down parkway lines, I was losing my mind because the love that I gave, wasted on a nice face. In a blaze of fear, I put a helmet on a helmet, counting seconds through the night and got carried away. So now I'm standing on the overpass, screaming at the cars, hey!
We've now added over 1,000 new features to our CC desktop application since CS6 shipped, across video and web and design and imaging and photography. Releases that take advantage of new hardware capabilities, keep you up to date with evolving formats, deliver incredible gains in performance, and make everyday tasks that much more efficient, and of course, make the things that were previously impossible suddenly possible, thanks to that Adobe magic we sprinkle in with every release. So to share more about our next major update to our CC desktop apps, I'd like to invite up Paul Gabay and Sarah Hunt.
Thank you, David. Thank you. So our desktop teams have been on a roll. If you've been following along with the Creative Cloud launch in June, you know we had a huge launch then. And now, just 4 months later, we've got another killer release, another great set of features to share with you, showcasing some of our best work ever. Now, there were 3 areas that we really focused on for this release. The first one was this concept of connected creativity. We all have a creative profile. Now we can unlock the value of our content when it is stored in Creative Cloud, and that's going to change the way that we work. The second area was devices and touch. What would our applications, the applications that you use every day, what would they look like if touch was a first-class citizen when they run on those new 2-in-1 devices that we see coming into market? And the third area was, of course, Adobe Magic. That's something special that just blows all of our minds away the first time we see it, something that only Adobe could do. So let's talk about the first area, connected creativity. Now, Jeff and Scott have already shown you the power of being able to take your content, connect it to your creative profile, and have it show up in Creative Cloud libraries inside of your desktop applications. I'm going to show you another great new feature that is also tied to your creative profile, and it is called Creative Cloud Extract. Now, I've got a couple of questions for you guys before I get started. How many folks here have ever designed a comp of a web page inside of Photoshop? Let's just hear a little applause for you guys. Lots of designers. How many people have ever built a web page based on a comp that you got from Photoshop? Let's hear it for you guys. All right. So we all know everybody uses Photoshop to design because of the power, the flexibility, and of course, it's the industry standard. But if we're being honest with ourselves, we also know that it can be a pain to get the assets and the information and the data that you want outside of your Photoshop file. Anyone who's familiar with this, you're probably familiar with the complexity of using slices, where you end up with documents that look like this, and you try and pull apart the pieces that you want. And if you're not using slices, you're probably familiar with creating a new document for every single asset that you want to pull out of your Photoshop file. How many of us have been heads down, looked up, and realized that we're working on untitled-48, because it is literally the 48th asset that we're trying to get out of a Photoshop file? Well, guess what? That's the past. Who wants to see what the future looks like? I thank you for your confidence because I haven't shown you anything yet. So we are going to get started inside of Photoshop. Now, as a designer inside of Photoshop, I've got a comp of a web page that I'm working on. I want to pull something out of it. I want to get some assets out. I want to share them. And rather than doing all of that other stuff I just talked about, instead of all of that, I'm just going to select exactly what I'm interested in, which is these 3 or 4 icons. I'm going to select those icons. And then I'm going to choose Extract Asset. I want you to watch, because this happens very quickly. In one move, Photoshop has figured out what I've had selected, it's composited it down, it's trimmed it out, and it's added those icons as brand new assets inside of my asset queue, which is now connected to my Photoshop file. Now, this is a modeless dialog, which means I can move it around, I can move it off to a different screen, and I can continue to pick different things, select different things inside of my Photoshop file. Let's see, I've got another layer group here. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to choose Add, and in just a second, it's composited down and created another asset that's been added to my queue. Now, you'll notice that for each of those assets that are added, I can choose to change them in different, save them in different formats. And one of those new formats is now SVG. So I can actually export SVG out of Photoshop if I'm using shapes, if I'm using vectors. I now have SVG that will scale to multiple resolutions. Speaking of multiple resolutions, what about when you work with rasters? If you're familiar with doing this, like since you're targeting retina displays or different resolutions, you guys know that you have to recalculate each asset and you have to save for web time and time again. I don't have to do that anymore. All I have to do is select the resolutions that I want, and I can put as many different resolutions as I want in here. I click the Extract button, everything's taken care of for me. Photoshop extracts all of them out, all the different resolutions in one move. It's awesome. And I'm just getting started, because this is what I do as a designer in Photoshop. What's the next thing I want to do? I want to send this over to my web developer who's actually going to do the heavy lifting of pulling even more out of my Photoshop file. And that is incredibly easy to do because this is connected to my Creative profile. I'm simply going to click the link Open in Creative Cloud. I am now being taken to the cloud, into the browser, and I'm being taken to a synced version of the same Photoshop file that I was just working on inside of Photoshop on my desktop. But unlike other file sharing services, this is not a static preview. This is actually a live PSD. My web designer, my web developer, they can get all of the information that they want out of this Photoshop file right in the browser. And to show you exactly what I mean, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah, who is my web designer and also happens to be the product manager for Dreamweaver and Edge Animate. And Sarah, why don't you show folks what you can do once I've shared my file with you in Creative Cloud.
Great, thanks, Paul. So Paul has invited me to collaborate with him in Creative Cloud. I'm logged in with my Creative profile over here. And this is a live PSD. You can interact with all the Photoshop layers because this is what you get when you store your Photoshop documents in Creative Cloud. Creative Cloud now gives you a style guide that's unique to all of the design contents of this PSD. I can see all the gradients and all the colors and all the fonts that make up this design. Now, I'm a web designer, and I need to get CSS out of here. And Extract makes it really easy for me to do. When I click on a Photoshop layer, I can immediately see how that layer translates into CSS. And I can, pretty cool, right? And I can take this CSS, I can use it in any editor I want, and this is great for letting me preserve the integrity of the design when I go to code. Now, I also need to get measurements out of here. I know how I've done this inside of Photoshop by drawing rectangles to use as fake rulers between this layer and this layer. But inside of Extract, I can just click on the layers I want, and right away it tells me, hey, there's 42 pixels of space between there. That's awesome. It's the little things, right? So looking inside of my assets queue, I can see all the images that Paul created for me in Photoshop, since we're connected in Creative Cloud. And it looks like he forgot to send me one of the icons I needed. But that's OK, because I can just click on the layers I want. And when I click on the Extract button, yeah, I'll keep that a ping file. This gets added to my assets queue and is ready for me to download and use in my web project.
That's awesome. So, Sarah, this is basically like Firebug or Web Inspector for a PSD file when it's stored in Creative Cloud. And you get to do all of this directly inside of the browser.
Yep, all in the browser, Paul. I didn't even need to have Photoshop installed to do any of this.
That's awesome. So, thanks. So you see Creative Cloud extract, you start working inside of Photoshop as a designer, trying to pull the assets that I want. You see it working inside of the web browser for my web developer, Sarah, who can get everything she wants. But I know, Sarah, that you and the team have been thinking about taking this a whole step forward from here and thinking really about web designers. And of course, many web designers use Dreamweaver. I know you guys have been doing some pretty magical things there. Why don't you share with us what you guys have been working on?
Well, I have the new version of Dreamweaver right here in front of me. One thing that you'll notice is new is that you have access to your Creative Cloud storage, because we've done a lot of work to make it really easy for you guys to take your PSDs to the web. And so here's that PSD that Paul sent me, so I'll go ahead and open that up. And you have access to all of the same functionality that we showed you inside of the browser. You can access your styles and interact with layers, but there's so much more you can do since Dreamweaver is connected to Creative Cloud. Now I started a wireframe of this website, so I've opened that up. And the first thing I want to do is get this gray and black gradient I have out of here. Now, normally to do this, I would have to do something like go to cssgradientgenerator.com or fight with color pickers in Photoshop. But I can code hint directly into this PSD. You can see I have my Photoshop layer selected here. And when I push Enter and start typing, I have all of those code hints that are being pulled right out of that Photoshop layer. And when I start writing, there's that gradient I want, and I get a nice little thumbnail of what that's going to look like. And when I push Enter, all of the colors I needed, all of the gradient stops, all the vendor prefixing, that exact style I needed was right there for me.
So I want to just take a step back here, because this is definitely Adobe magic, something only Adobe could do. We're basically saying that from this point forward, if you're using Dreamweaver, you can now code hint in real time into any PSD file that is stored in Creative Cloud and shared with you, which I think is huge. And Sarah, this is not just about getting out gradients. This is colors, fonts, images, measurements, anything that you want to be able to pull out of the file.
Well, I'm glad you brought up fonts, Paul, because I need to style the headers for my website. Now I'm going to click on this Photoshop layer that has type in it, and I can see all of the type styles. And I don't really need the font size or the line height here, so I'll just tick those off. I'll copy that CSS to my clipboard right inside of Dreamweaver, and I can paste that onto the selector I want inside of Live View. And when I paste that, all of those type styles get brought over, making it really easy for me to style a typography in my website. Now there's one more thing that I need to get out of here, and of course that's images. And Paul, it really doesn't get much easier than what you can do inside of Dreamweaver. So I have this Photoshop layer selected here. I have this happy-looking guy. He's so happy to be here on stage at Max. Look at him. When I drag this around, you can see that I can control exactly where I want to place that image inside of my document. So I'm going to go ahead and place that here. And I can change the file format I want. I don't want to make that a PNG. Let's just say I want to name that a JPEG. And when I push Enter, this image gets downloaded from Creative Cloud. It's going to get trimmed down to the exact size I need, ready for me to use in my web project, saved to my hard drive.
Yeah, this is awesome. As web designers, extracting images out of Photoshop file is something we do all the time. And you've basically taken 5 or 6 steps, and you've literally brought them down to one drag and drop operation, which is awesome, Sarah. Now, I notice also that as you're going through this, you have the new live view in Dreamweaver open, and I can see that everything you're doing is actually happening in real time. You're not even hitting a refresh button. I see all the changes taking place there. Exactly. Why don't you share with us a little bit about what you guys did in Dreamweaver for the new live view?
Well, we realized that the web is changing at an incredible pace, and in order for us to keep up with that pace, we had to change the way that our live view worked. So we've done a lot of work with Chromium rendering, so everything previews in HTML5, and we're really taking advantage of that 64-bit processing, so you can really see those changes quickly as you build up your website. And this is great for saving you all those back and forth round trips to the browser just to do a quick preview. So you guys, if you are using Photoshop documents in the web, or if you're still on an older version of Dreamweaver like CS6, there's going to be a ton of stuff in this release that's really going to help you expedite your web development projects.
Thank you so much for your time, Sarah. I appreciate it.
We really want to hear from you, so take part in our Twitter competition by sending in a creative tweet to tell us about your top Creative Cloud features. Our Adobe panel of judges will select their favourite tweet from each Northern European country: Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland and the UK. The winners will receive a 12-month membership to the Creative Cloud. But not only that, the overall tweet from all the regions will win a Microsoft Surface Pro 3. So get posting your tweets using the hashtag #CreateNow. The competition is open from midday on the 10th of November till midnight on the 13th of November. And you can see full details, terms and conditions at this URL. Good luck. Over again now to my colleague in Stockholm. Johan has got together with creative agency Thinkable.
Thanks, Fiona, and welcome to the Adobe studio in Stockholm, where I am joined by Jarle Leirpoll, who is a filmmaker, and he's doing a lot of training, and he's one of our master trainers. And he's going to take you through his 5 favorite features since CS6. So, where do we start, Jarle?
Well, number 1, the DCP export, Digital Cinema Package.
So, when do you use that?
Well, lots of my students, they want their films to go to film festivals and stuff. And, making a DCP, a Digital Cinema Package, that used to be very expensive. But now, it's just, like any other export from Premiere. So if I want to export this timeline here, I can just hit export and make sure I choose the Raptor DCP here in export settings. And then I can choose between 24 and 25 frames per second. Now I'm from Norway, and this was shot in 25, so I'm going to stick to 25. And then if you don't know what full scope or flat is, just choose the one that looks better. Yep. And then export. Well, we've already done that. So here is my finished movie.
Okay.
And
you can't really play a DCP in like VLC or anything like that?
No, but I use the DCP, the free version of that player, and it works great. The logo will always be there up in the corner, but that's okay, just for checking the film.
Yep.
So, and this plays back the film, and it's, the colors look right on my screen.
Even though DCP actually has another color space.
Exactly. So this player just converts this to the computer's color space, and I can see that everything looks good.
Really, really good.
So this is a killer feature. Fantastic.
That was DCP export. Let's move on to feature number 2.
Yes, masking and tracking. Now, I can, of course, add any effect to the image in Premiere, but it will be on the whole frame.
Yep.
Now we have the ability to use masks. We have these circular masks and rectangular masks, and we can do some feathering by just dragging here, and I can expand or contract. So it's very easy to use. Now, with the latest version, we also got, the pen tool, so we can make our own masks, just whatever shape we like. Okay.
Yeah. Really, really powerful.
Yeah. So, and I've used that here. So on this clip, I have 3 instances of RGB curves. Now here is a man, and his face is a little bit dark. Okay, so I wanted to just lift just the levels in his face, not the rest of the image. So I set my first RGB curves to secondary color correction, and it shows just the skin tones. I'll put it on here. So now it's just doing the skin tones. but it's also combined with this mask. Okay, so that means it's just affecting skin tones and only inside the mask. So when I turn this on and off, you can see that, you know, his skin is getting brighter, but not the rest of the image. And then he's also very dark under the caps here, and because of the sunshades, you see I've lifted his levels there. And the same thing, it's just a mask. Now these are automatically tracking, so you know, here you can see his eyes. Here you can't, but the mask just stays on, dead on all the time. And the same with this other mask. It's dead on. And I did not help the tracker. I just started tracking from here and hit the track backwards button, because we can track backwards.
And in this case, it makes perfect sense because the last frame had the whole face in the image, which makes it easier for it.
Exactly.
To do the tracking.
So I'll do that again. So because I just hit the track backwards button here, and it tracked all the way to here, and it's pretty amazing. You can't even see his face here, right? But the mask still knows kind of where to be. So this is fantastic. And just to finish this, I added another instance of RGB curves with a little S curve and some color correction. So, you know, and all this on one layer.
Yeah.
And everything still plays back in real time, and it's fantastic.
Yeah. And in the previous version, you would have had to use like 3, 4, 5 different shapes and track matte effects and
yeah, for this about 5 layers.
Yeah. So it's a really neat feature that showed up in CC 2014 and with some improvements as well in 2014.1. So let's move on to feature number 3.
Smart rendering.
Smart rendering.
Smart rendering is, you know, if you have a timeline with the same codec that you're going out to, you can export very fast, at least with some formats. And one of the formats is DNX HD. So this is DNX HD, but this stuff here, that's H.264 DSLR footage. Yeah. Okay. So what I did here is I rendered this, as you can see with the green color here, I rendered this portion. How did I render it? Well, sequence and render in to out. And what the reason why this is nice now is that I've set my editing mode to DNX 1080p. That sets the preview codec to DNX.
Yeah.
So when I render here, this is now DNX footage because it's rendered now. Yeah. So I have a new file. This was DNX already, so
nothing to do there.
Yeah. But if I now hit export, then you can see that if I click match sequence settings and then export, it will not be very fast at the start because that was DSLR footage, and now it's looking back to the original files
and re-rendering everything again.
Yeah, but I already rendered this, right? So I shouldn't have to. And now the last part goes very quick because this other stuff here was already the same codec. Well, there's just one extra click, and that's use previews. Well, normally I don't use previews because, you know, previews, if they are like iframe only MPEG, bad quality. But this is great quality DNX HD. So here I can use the previews and hit export, and look at that fly.
That's really cool because it's just copying the frames from the previously done render, right?
Yeah, and this was about 32 seconds of material exported in maybe 2 seconds. And we can do this now for ProRes on the Mac. You can do it with the DNX HD like I showed here, and also for the GoPro Cineform codec and the AVC Intra and some other stuff.
Codecs as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really great. So, number 4.
Render and replace. Now, and I've done that already here, because when you have After Effects compositions dynamically linked in Premiere, you know, it can be slow. This is not even updating now, okay? But this one has been rendered to, again, a DNX HD file. And this is, playing back smoothly now.
And the previous workflow to do that was to export that section, import it, replace it.
Yeah.
And then you need to keep track of which comp that was actually there if you want to go back and make any changes.
And now you go just right-click and render and replace. And then it renders a new file, like I've done here, and everything is nice, okay? But then you want to go back.
And do some changes.
Yeah, and that's easy too. Just right-click and restore unrendered. And now this is, again, a dynamically linked After Effects file. And if I go here, I'll just make some very obvious, like a curve adjustment like this. Go back to Premiere, and you see the whole thing just updates, like you're used to with Dynamic Link. And then you can render and replace again if you want to.
That's a really, really good feature that can save you a lot of time and also hardware resources, right?
Yeah, you will save a lot of RAM, and you will definitely get a much snappier project because, Dynamic Link is kind of a resource hog. Now you can just replace it with a rendered file and still go back to the After Effects project.
Really, really good feature. That was actually introduced in 8.1 and sort of ordered by David Fincher for the Gone Girl project that heavily used dynamic links.
Yeah.
So. Cool. Let's move on to the last feature of your favorite 5.
Yeah, this is GPU debayering.
So, debayering, what's that?
With the RAW formats, like RED, like the Sony RAW, like Cinema DNG, it's fantastic to have those RAW formats that are actually just, data from the image sensor. It's not really an image yet. To make it into an image, you have to do the debayering process. Kind of heavy computing.
Yep.
And even though we've always had, the possibility to go down to 1/4 res in our timeline, even though we can do that, it's not really been, perfect playback, at least on a laptop like this. And the reason was you still had to debayer the whole image before you could read out that 1/4 resolution. So, but now we have the GPU debayering, so it's happening on the GPU, so the CPU can just do the 1/4 res extraction. So now I can play back 1/4 res RED raw material on my laptop without dropping frames, which is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And it also works for Cinema DNG, for example, from the Blackmagic Design cameras and some other formats as well. And it's a really, really nice feature that can speed up your work a lot because you don't have to transcode, but you can still do stuff in real time.
Exactly.
As long as you have the drive speed.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Jarle, for your 5 favorite features that has come since CS6. And with that, I hope that has given you some tips at least. And I hope to see you next time. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
We really want to hear from you, so take part in our Twitter competition by sending in a creative tweet to tell us about your top Creative Cloud features. Our Adobe panel of judges will select their favourite tweet from each Northern European country, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland and the UK. The winners will receive a 12-month membership to the Creative Cloud. But not only that, the overall tweet from all the regions will win a Microsoft Surface Pro 3. So get posting your tweets using the hashtag #CreateNow. The competition is open from midday on the 10th of November till midnight on the 13th of November. And you can see full details, terms and conditions at this URL. Good luck. It's time to catch up with my Finnish colleague Tommy now, who is with Sampo Kokeila to talk about publishing from InDesign to mobile.
the voice of the preacher from the back room, calling my name and I follow just to find you. I trace the faith through a broken down television. I wanna get better. While my friends were getting high and chasing girls down parkway lines, I was losing my mind because the love that I gave wasted on a nice face. In a blaze of fear, I put a helmet on a helmet, counting seconds through the night and got carried away. So now I'm standing on the overpass, screaming out the cars. Hey, I wanna get better. I didn't know I was broken till I wanted to change. I wanna get better, better, better. I wanna get better. I wanna get better.
Thanks, Iona. And we are here in Helsinki at our training partner Corellia. And with me is Sampo Korkeala, and he's a really hardcore designer and a trainer, and he's going to tell about some new features in the InDesign October release. The October release packs a wealth of new features, and well, Sampo, what's your favorite feature with InDesign CC?
Well, Tommy, I think the most favorite feature is this new EPUB fixed layout, and I believe it's something that we have really waited for. Earlier we had only flowable EPUBs, and it gave us only text-based books. But now we can really do really nice looking interactive picture books with a whole lot of different kind of features like animations, buttons, hyperlinks, or almost all the same things like TPS can do. So I think that's my favorite thing in this new release.
Yeah, and it's a really big thing for, let's say, if you publish picture books or children's books and textbooks. So when you can incorporate all those interactive features and export them in a format that opens in a lot of devices. So EPUBs, they work with iPads,
yes,
of course, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a compatible EPUB reader for almost every device out there at the moment.
Yes, Android, Windows, all the main devices, they have really good readers at the moment, and especially this year it brought many good readers to the markets, and they support EPUB 3, which allows this fixed layout format.
Can you show us some of the new features in InDesign that help with the EPUB application?
Okay, here I have a book. It's a picture book about photography, very much photographic book, and it's spread-based. And for example, here you can see this text frame. It doesn't have any fill color in it, and I'm going to add a new animation to it so that it will fly in from outside of the page to the page. So this animation panel here, it now supports EPUB format. It used to support, and it still does support, SVF files.
So those were actually Flash animations?
They were Flash animations, but Flash animations didn't work in these new devices like iPads and Android and Microsoft tablets. But now these HTML5 format animations, they are supported. And now I can use these ready-made preset animations. I'm going to add a new one to this object, fly in from left, like that, and then I'm going to preview it inside InDesign. I have here EPUB Interactivity Preview panel, and you see here's the spread, and I'm going to play, preview, And when I arrive to the page, I will see this element fly into the page.
And that's not a picture, so that's text actually.
It's actually text, and I can search it, I can select it, and here you can see I select the text, and it's all searchable, all pure text.
Yeah, and what I like about EPUB is when I read a book, and I can select a piece of text and search for a meaning for it, or make a note on that page. So that is possible even though it's animated, right?
That's true. I can do it in my iPad also. And here you can see this this animation. It's vector-based, so it's not an image, and it's searchable. I can select the text, copy it, share it, get the definition for it. So I can use all the functions that EPUB readers support.
Okay, so what also we have in InDesign is a way to produce digital magazines, and it's called a digital publishing suite.
Yes.
So what do you see, where do you see the line between when you should publish using DPS?
So what's the difference between these
Yeah,
two?
what's the difference between publishing to DPS and publishing to EPUB?
Well, the functions that you can use in them, like interactivity, they are very close now when we have this fixed layout, interactive EPUBs. So I think the difference comes when you start to share your publications. You can use DPS for magazines and corporate publications, and usually like subscription-based publications, and it's very great for that. EPUBs, fixed layout EPUBs, they are very great in books, and I'm looking forward for seeing these used in education, school books. They are made for EPUBs, and already we see very great publications done with the EPUB 3 format.
So when you produce your publication with the digital publishing suite, it becomes an application.
Yes.
And when you do an EPUB, that's a file that is read with the EPUB reader on whatever device.
Yeah. That's one of the main differences. And you can share your EPUB files through your own websites, or then you can use commercial stores like Apple Store or Google Play and many other. And but you can also do it for free with your own site. And DPS applications, they are always apps that you download from those Apple Store, Google Play, and Microsoft Store. And content goes through Adobe server always. So you can do also free stuff with EPUB, and that's very great thing.
Okay, and you've been in the publishing business since 1997, right?
Well, yes. And I used to do CD-ROM multimedia at 90s, and these are pretty much same. So if there are people who have done that, they feel very comfortable with all these things, and using video, animations, hyperlinks, all that thing. It's already done 20 years ago.
Yeah, and I'd say I remember those times as well, and I'd say it's quite a lot simpler these days.
Yes, a lot more. You don't have to code anything. All those tools that are in InDesign, and for example, you can use also edge animation. It's very easy to use animation tool, and compared to those days, it's so much better now.
Yeah, and you can use full res video, even
yes.
4K video these days.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, so that's about everything from here in Helsinki and Karelia. And back to you, Iona. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We really want to hear from you, so take part in our Twitter competition by sending in a creative tweet to tell us about your top Creative Cloud features. Our Adobe panel of judges will select their favourite tweet from each Northern European country, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland and the UK. The winners will receive a 12-month membership to the Creative Cloud. But not only that, the overall tweet from all the regions will win a Microsoft Surface Pro 3. So get posting your tweets using the hashtag #CreateNow. The competition is open from midday on the 10th of November till midnight on the 13th of November. And you can see full details, terms and conditions at this URL. Good luck. Time now for another presentation from Adobe Max for our October release of the Creative Cloud. Let's take a look at the fantastically connected and newly updated Creative Cloud profile in action.
Hey, I hear the voice of the preacher from the back room, calling my name and I follow just to find you. I trace the faith to a broken down television. I wanna get better. While my friends were getting high and chasing girls down parkway lines, I was losing my mind because the love that I gave, wasted on a nice face. In a place of fear, I put a helmet on a helmet, counting seconds through the night and got carried away. So now I'm standing on the overpass, screaming at the cars. Hey, I wanna get better. Didn't know I was broken till I wanted to change. I wanna get better, I wanna get better.
Your creative profile connects you to all of your work, your files, your fonts, your colors, your brushes, your shapes, and any other creative content and assets that you care about. And it's going to move with you from app to app so that you can work anywhere and in any app across desktop or mobile or both. It puts you at the center of the Creative Cloud. So let's start the day by taking a look at your creative profile. I'd like to invite up Jeff Veen to get us started. Jeff?
Wow, hello everybody. You doing all right? All right, good. It is an absolute thrill to be here. So look, over the last year and a half, we have built some amazing new technology into the Creative Cloud. In fact, in that time, we completely redesigned and refactored your creative profile. That is, your identity inside the Creative Cloud. I think probably the best place for me to show you that, or the most visible, is on adobe.com. So now when you come to our website and you log in, you get this dashboard that has everything that you have linked to your creative profile. So just a click from here and you're over at Behance, where there are millions of creative professionals posting their work. And you can post your work there too. Another click and I'm at Typekit, where I have thousands of fonts that are included in my membership that I can sync to my desktop, that I can use on my website, that now even use on mobile devices. Now, another click, and I'm at Lightroom, and I've got all of my collections there, right? The stuff that I've been working on, Lightroom in the desktop and Lightroom on the iPad, all of that's here too. And then finally another click, and I'm at Adobe Color. And there, I can browse around and create my own color palettes, and I can use those in all my work too. Now, all of this is totally seamless because all of this is connected to your creative profile. But honestly, I think a lot of the real value is when you take your assets with you, when you have them right at your fingertips while you're doing your work. So over this last year, we spent literally like hundreds of hours talking to creative professionals about how they do their work really like online when they're sitting at their computer, but also offline too, in the real world. And it's no surprise, right? We all take our tools super, super seriously. We spend time organizing and personalizing and really sort of working with our tools, but not just those tools, right? But all the bits and pieces that we use in our work, right? Everything I just showed you, the fonts and the colors and icons and vectors and just everything. I think it gets really interesting then when you move all of this into the cloud, right? Now, I think services like G Drive and Dropbox and OneDrive are super, super interesting. We even have our own in the Creative Cloud. But the value in these services is not just from all that seemingly limitless storage, right? In fact, all that storage often amplifies a lot of our bad habits. So I can't tell you how many folders I have like this. Does this look familiar? Logo, final, 4, no really, I mean it, .psd, right? Yes. So look, I think there's a better way. I think we can stop storing the raw materials that we use in our work today in file systems that were designed decades ago. Instead, we should have all of our assets at our fingertips when we need them, wherever we're doing our work on any device that we have. That was the motivation behind the Creative Profile. That's what I'd like to show you now. So let's have a look. Would you like to see the new Photoshop? Good, let's do that. All right, I've got this desktop machine here, and so I'm going to launch up Photoshop. And the first thing you can see is that I am logged in, right, with my Creative Profile. So everything is connected here. And if you look, I've got this Creative Cloud icon, and I've got a new feature here called the library. And it's got everything I need. Now, this is brand new. We're shipping it today in the version of Photoshop that you'll be able to download as part of your Creative Cloud membership. So I've got all my colors here, and color themes as well. I've got typographic styles. I've got layer styles that I've extracted right out of layers in a bunch of documents. I've got a bunch of brushes here that I'm using in various applications, and then a bunch of graphics that I'm going to use, right? So let me just open a file that I've been working on with a web designer for a client called Hike Finder. They have sort of a search social thing for finding hikes when you're out in the outdoors. And I just want to show you how incredibly simple it is to just select something in one of these, drag it over, and just like that, there it is. I've got this image. Now it's in my Creative Cloud, right? It's connected to my Creative Profile. So if I were to switch over to the new Illustrator, which also has libraries in it now, you can see that right down here, oh, look at that. Unable to connect to server. That's great. Are you guys, did you all just literally jump over to start downloading Photoshop right now? Is that what's happening? So let me see if the guys backstage can kind of switch things over here. Oh, there we go. I'm on the server. And we should be syncing here in just a moment. So while that's happening, I can show you it's just as easy as this, right? You drag something over back and forth. I mean, the really good thing is whether I'm online or offline, everything is synced locally, so I always have access to everything. So, all right, let me switch back over to Photoshop. And let's see. Actually, guys, can you switch to the other machine so that I can start fresh from there? And there we go. Perfect. And there it'll just load right up. And here we go. I've got my profile, and I've got my welcome screen. Nice. There we are. And from here, I will just open up this file here. It's sort of a template. Now, I'm going to build a mobile app for this client. And I'm going to start by showing you some of the other libraries that I've built. Because I've been working with this client, put all of this stuff in this library, but I do other work as well. So I've got this icon library that I sort of collected while I was surfing around the web. I got a bunch of colors here. This is a library that I built to talk with the client about how we might do a redesign come spring. Here's something I find really useful. I built this library full of device templates with blank screens so that I could just literally drag right over and just get started. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm just going to put that right there. Looks good. We'll go back over to the Hike Finder. There we go. And I'll come down here. I got this image, which I think is going to look lovely right there. Very nice. Let me just move that. Well, we'll just put that right there. And I'm going to move this. I'm going to put a search interface right there, center that up. And I will add this icon. So that's looking pretty good. OK. I need the logo. So I'm going to go back over to Illustrator. And I'm going to open that up now here. Great. So I've got the logo here, and there it is. Let me just zoom in on that a bit for you. So here you go. And before I do, like, I could just drag this right into my library, and I would have it all synced up. But before I do, I'm just going to select it. Now, this is an Illustrator file, right? So Illustrator knows everything about it, and it knows all the qualities of that. So if you look right down here at the bottom, right, Illustrator is saying, oh, yeah, I know what's going on here. You have a color on this. And so I can simply click that, and there's my color. It's going to sync up, and now I've got that in the Creative Cloud. I can use that everywhere. I can grab the typographic style, and just like that, there we go. I've got that as well. And then I could grab the graphic as well. Now, before I do that, though, I don't think this blue is going to work on that background that we're doing in the mobile app. So instead, I'm going to switch over to this iPhone that I have here and show you the creative profile on a mobile device. So I'm running Adobe Color here. So I'm just going to launch that right up. And here you can see I've got all the themes that I have been collecting. But look at this, right? I am connected to my creative profile. So that means that under the themes here, I just tap this. Whoop, let me get it. There we go, and now, well, this is great. There we go. Live in front of everybody. I will just launch color and tap this. My goodness, there we go. And under here, I've got all of those libraries. So here's all the libraries that I was just showing you on Photoshop and Illustrator. And they're all here, too. So in fact, I'll go into Hike Finder. Boy, things are really slowing down here. I think we got some kind of network stuff. And I will, right here, add a new color palette. Now, this is looking pretty gray, so thankfully I brought something with me. I borrowed this from my son. He would probably say I stole it from him, but we'll just grab that. That's looking good. I will name this Maxed, and there we go. And there's my palette, right? And right now, in the background, that's being synced to the Creative Cloud. It's just as simple as that. So all those libraries are going to have this. In fact, let's go have a look right now. I'll go back over here to Illustrator. And let me just scroll back. And let's have a look. Well, it looks like we are, there it goes, it's syncing. Let's see if we still are having some of these network issues. I'm not quite sure what's going on. I'm sure the guys backstage are working that out. So I'll just use the one that I've got here and select all of this. And that yellow looks pretty good. And I'll just drag this right over. And there it goes. And as you can see, it's syncing up right now. So that means if I switch back over to Photoshop, let's see. It should be syncing right now. And that should come in. Again, there it comes. And here I've got everything, right at my fingertips, ready to go. Well, it's taking a little bit of time. Let's see. Well, there it is. Good. So let me just drag that out. I'm going to try that one. Well, we'll just do it like that. We'll go for a little redesign of the logo here on stage. And I'm going to show this to the client, see what they think. So just like that, round trip, right, with all of my devices connected together. And again, right, regardless of whether you're online or off, everything is synced locally, so I will have access to all of that stuff. So we've been using this a lot internally. And one of the things that we found, right, is that we do our work by ourselves all the time, but we also do a lot of work together. So we built another feature. In fact, if I show you right under here, I've got a menu item here with my library called View on Website. So if I were to select that, I'd come right over to this website at adobe.com, which is also linked to my creative profile. So what I've got here is everything that I just showed you in the palette, but organized with this sort of elegant and beautiful design that acts as a sort of automatic style guide, always showing me everything that we're currently using with this client, right? So here's my colors and the typographic styles and all those images. Then under the action menu, look at this. I have a function here called Collaborate, so that when I click on that, it will pop up this dialog that shows me all the members of my team right here, and here they are. This is everybody I'm working with, right? So that means everything that I have in this library, they have as well. So think about that for a minute, right? So yeah, thank you. Well, good. I don't even need to ask you to think about it. I think you get it. But that means every single change that I make is broadcast out to my team. So they always have the latest version of the logos and the colors and the type styles and everything. I think this is going to bring out the type A in a lot of creative directors, am I right? All right, cool. Now, I just want to show you one last thing, and that is up here, I have been running the desktop version of the Creative Cloud app the whole time. So you can see I got a bunch of stuff, my team is here and stuff like that, and that's because my creative profile is here as well, and I'm connected to our community, right? So here is all the work that my community is working on right now. That's pretty cool. But we also have a new feature that we have been working on called the Market. Now, we have worked with Behance members to license from them over 20,000 individual assets that you can use in your work. And it's all right here if I click on assets, and here's the Market, right? And you can see I've got vector shapes and icons and patterns and brushes, and I just have so much stuff here. And I can use all of it. Now let me just show you how easy that is. I'll select right here for a search, and I think for Hike Finder, we will search for tent. Let's see. There we go. Some tent icons. This is looking good. This feels like the style that we've been using. So I'm going to go right here, and look at that. When I click download, it shows me all the libraries, right? So everywhere that I've got my library, I can now have this tent. So I'm going to say, put it in the Hike Finder library, and now it's going to sync, right? Back to the Creative Cloud. It knows that it's in my profile. So that means if I go back to Illustrator, and I will create a new document here for you. That looks good. And there it is. It just pop up. I drag it like that. And again, my whole team has it. As simple as that. So there you go. And so that is sort of an overview of the creative profile, right? It's in your desktop apps, it's in your mobile apps, connected to our community, and now available with 20,000 assets in the market. Our work on the creative profile is really just getting started. So you're about to see a bunch of today's demo, and all of those demos, you will see that the creative profile is at the core of absolutely everything we're doing now. So look, I've been working with creative teams for, oh my gosh, like 20 years now. And I don't think it's ever been easier to stay connected and to do our work. And frankly, I cannot wait to see what all of you do with all of this stuff that we're launching. So thank you very much. Have a great day.
Hey, I hear the voice of the preacher from the back room, calling my name and I follow just to find you. I trace the faith through a broken down television. I wanna get better. While my friends were getting high and chasing girls down parkway lines, I was losing my mind because the love that I gave wasted on a nice face. In a blaze of fear, I put a helmet on a helmet, counting seconds through the night and got carried away. So now I'm standing on the overpass, screaming at the cars. Hey, I wanna get better. I didn't know I was broke until I wanted to change. I wanna get better, better, better. I wanna get better. I wanna get better.
I'm with my colleague Tony Harmer now, who has recently returned from Adobe Max. Tony, thanks for dropping in.
Thank you, Ione.
Now, there are a lot of new features as part of the October release for designers, features, apps and services. Can you tell us what you're most excited by?
Well, yeah, I'm most excited about the persistent creative profile because it's kind of the realization of the sort of idea behind Creative Cloud. It kind of makes it a reality. So it's a creative profile that connects creatives with their work. So the assets they use to create and the communities that matter to them, such as Behance and Facebook and Twitter and so on. So everything, wherever they are, is with them. So their fonts, their colors, their graphics, the things they create with our new Capture apps, so their brushes, and their shapes, they're all there in context at their fingertips the whole time.
And that's all syncing via the Creative Cloud,
All
isn't
syncs via the Creative Cloud, and it does it in moments, so it's always with you and ready to use straight away.
And one of the big new features as part of that creative profile is, of course, the libraries panel.
Absolutely, and it works in context as well, so you'll get a slightly different view of the things that are relevant to Photoshop and relevant to Illustrator and relevant to InDesign in there.
Excellent. So I hope you guys can make use of all of that additional connectivity now as part of the Creative Cloud. But now it's time to take a look at how you can make the most of your online creative profile. So we're heading back again to Adobe Max.
So the creative profile, which was certainly a theme of today's demos, actually got its origins with the Behance portfolio and this notion of all of your public work being collected in one place. The creative profile opens up all kinds of possibilities for integrating Behance into creative workflows, like quickly publishing work in progress from your desktop and mobile apps, adding portfolio projects directly from many of the mobile apps that we saw today, and having endless inspiration, just endless inspiration at your fingertips. So integrating community into the tools that you use makes sharing your work and getting feedback and attribution a more natural part of the creative process.
Yeah, and it really has been working well. We now have over 4 million members on Behance. Scott is very excited about that, as are we all. That's a huge milestone for the team. 20,000 projects every day get uploaded now. And here's the cool part. They're actually getting uploaded earlier in the process, which means the creative community is helping everyone that's posting improve the work before it's finished. So really starting to leverage the creative community in the finished work itself, which is great to see. But the really amazing thing for me has been watching as this community has evolved and grown, some interesting dynamics starting to take shape. Some members, we're seeing more and more members now joining and posting portfolios as they're looking for a job. And we're seeing more and more people, creative directors and recruiters, joining Behance to find and hire creative talent. So in effect, a talent market was starting to take shape. Now, Behance has always been about the community first, so instead of hearing about it from Scott and me, let's hear from the Behance members themselves.
So on Behance page, I created this Japanese Supergirl section, and that got picked up by Japanese media. And then all of a sudden, they're like, do you want to be on Japanese TV with this famous comedian? And that was exciting.
A lot of things changed when I posted this personal project on Behance called Facebook Facelift, which was like this concept of a different way to think about Facebook and how it's structured and how it looks. And I was kind of like overwhelmed with the feedback I was getting. A lot of freelance work just came in as a result of that.
We're always on the hunt for the industry's best designers, the best creatives, and using Behance on a day-to-day basis is a very important thing for us going forward.
It's a nice community because it's really based on professionals sharing their ideas. I use it very much as inspiration.
So whenever we start out doing creative searches, Behance is always the first place we start. We need a lot of very specific but very high-level creative skill sets. And so Behance allows us to do searches where we can get really specific about what it is that we're looking for and be able to find the best talent.
Behance is a very valuable resource, and in our industry, the most important thing is talent. I use Behance not just professionally, but just because I like looking at good work. You can look at a resume until you're blue in the face, but ultimately it's the work that is what you're interested in. And so Behance is the best platform for the work that we're looking for.
So you too can be on Japanese TV. Scott, I know this has been a personal passion of yours for over a decade. You and the team have been fiercely focused on this moment, and it's a big deal. We're today officially announcing talent search on Behance. You want to take us through that?
Yeah, no, I'd love to. So over the years, we've been working to organize all of the portfolio content on Behance and enable the creative community to start curating itself. With Talent Search, we want to try to leverage the network to connect creatives with opportunity. And so here are a few things that are driving Talent Search. So the first is that Talent Search capitalizes on the portfolio rather than the traditional resume. So by organizing and indexing portfolios in real time, we can help creatives get discovered in new ways and possibly foster more meritocracy in the creative world. Talent Search provides search capabilities for the full Behance platform, so much more than just Behance's website, including dozens of portfolio networks powered by Behance for top art and design schools like RISD and SCAD and Pratt, as well as thousands of other personal portfolio sites. So Talent Search gives companies this incredible reach and access to the next generation of creative talent. And finally, Talent Search lets us tap what we like to call the creative graph for recommendations, with data about every public project published, community curation, and the relationships between top creatives in every field. We've developed recommendation algorithms to help match creatives with opportunity. And your recommendations only improve as you discover more people.
Right, and this actually surprised both Scott and me as we started to see the creative graph, all of the data and associations with the creatives on Behance come together with our imaging science. The recommendations that were being made were mind-blowing. You want to take us?
Yeah. So let me give you a sneak peek here at Talent Search. And so you'll see here I have my activity feed, which I see every day when I open up my browser. So I'm going to jump into talent searches. And so these are my running talent searches right now. This is the new product that we're launching today. And you can see I'm running a search for a photographer for a Max shoot. I'm running a bunch of fun searches here to test out the product, including one for an illustrator for a children's book I'd love to write someday. So I'm going to jump into that search. And you'll see I'm seeing a lot of the candidates that are being recommended to me by the system. The system is cleverly giving me different types of illustrators I may want to consider working with, as well as people that are discovered by me using all sorts of premium tools that I get as a talent searcher, and those that apply to the opportunity if I make it a public posting. So I'm just going to scroll down here, and you'll see the types of people that are being recommended to me. And let me click on Anna. So Anna is a candidate here, and you can see her portfolio, and you can see it's a real distinctive style of illustration. And listen, I might want to connect with her. I can direct message her. I can shortlist her for the search. But let's say she's busy. Let's say she comes back and is like, hey, I'm sorry, I can't work with you. What if I could see similar candidates based on the creative graph and all the information we know about her? And so here you can see a run of other similar sort of stylistically, illustrators that I might want to consider working from all over the world.
Right, and this is not just a short list of people who have designated themselves as children's book illustrators. This is really looking at the image science and finding similarity matching. Now, the really amazing thing about this is when you can narrow in on a single project. So let's take a look.
Yeah, sure. So similarity and using some of the image recognition technology that we found around Adobe and some of the data science. Here's another example of a portfolio of someone who I've been following for a while in Australia. And I'll click on this project of his that is all about The Great Gatsby. He did some sort of thing for perhaps the movie. And you can see that I have this option at the side here called View Projects Like This. This is great for art buyers as well as just people trying to understand, the similarities between work out there. So I'm going to click this, and what you'll see is, again, the creative graph at work for me returns from the millions of projects on Behance, projects that have like a real distinct level of similarity.
Yeah, this is going to make it much more efficient as people are looking for talent and looking for ideas. So thank you very much, Scott.
Super excited. Thanks,
Great.
David.
Thanks. So big day today for everything we're doing in mobile, big day for Behance with 4 million members and this new Talent Search product. And here's the simple focus we have with Talent Search. We want to do everything we can to help Creative Cloud members grow their careers. Talent Search is a big step forward for all of the reasons Scott just mentioned, and one more. The leading employer for creative professionals is the marketing department. Who gets this? They spend $300 billion a year hiring creative talent. Now, many of those marketing departments use Adobe Marketing Cloud to run and track their campaigns. So the teams are hard at work combining our Marketing Cloud and our Creative Cloud, so it's much easier for Creative Cloud members to find jobs, and it's much easier for Marketing Cloud customers to find and onboard creatives. This is a really big deal, and I think this is going to drive billions of dollars of opportunity to Creative Cloud members over the next few years, and it's going to make the marketing departments using our products much, much more agile and productive. So if you're a Creative Cloud member and you're not using Behance, give it a try. It's a great way to stay connected with the 4 million creatives you just saw, connected into your development or your creation process. It's a great way to find the next project or job that you're looking for, and it's a great way to hire some amazing talent if you're looking to grow your own teams.
Voices of a preacher from the back room, calling my name and I follow just to find you. I trace the faith through a broken down television. I wanna get better. While my friends were getting high and chasing girls down parkway lines, I was losing my mind because the love that I gave, wasted on a nice face. In a place of fear, I put a helmet on a helmet, counting seconds through the night and got carried away. So now I'm standing on the overpass, screaming at the cars, hey, I wanna get better.
I'm joined by my colleague Rupert now, who's going to give us an overview of the latest updates to Adobe Edge Animate and Dreamweaver. Rupert, thank you for being here.
A pleasure, as always.
Thank you. We're going to take a look at Edge Animate first, but for those who are new to the Creative Cloud, can you give them an overview as to what Edge Animate does?
Of course. Edge Animate allows web designers to be able to create interactive HTML compositions for both the web but also for digital publications, and they can do that for the desktop or web browsers on mobile devices, for example.
And out of Edge Animate you can publish for use in InDesign publications, interactive publications, and also in Adobe Muse, can't you?
Correct. So, and also Adobe's digital publishing suite as well. So there's a lot of interoperability between those different applications.
Fantastic. And what are the latest features that have been added to Edge Animate recently?
So in this release, we focused on two areas, performance, but also asset organization. So with regards to performance, we've actually reduced the size of the runtimes needed to power these animations by 55%.
Wow, that's a huge amount.
Indeed. And we've also halved the number of JavaScript files you actually need to be able to create these compositions. So that really reduces the download size and improves the performance with which these pages and animations load.
And we have things like sprite sheet support and video now, right, as well?
Absolutely. So you could take a sprite sheet that you may have created in Flash or in Photoshop, and you can bring that directly in Edge Animate, and that will also reduce the download size as well of your animations. And the other thing is video. Fantastic video support. The reality in today's world is different browsers support different video formats, and now Edge Animate can support multiple different formats. You can place those in your animations, and we will automatically serve up the correct format for the correct browser.
And when talking about support on mobile platforms as well, you've got the ability to make your animation responsive, haven't you?
Absolutely, and in the UK, about 40% of web browsing actually comes from mobile devices today. So it's really important that web designers consider those platforms.
Absolutely. So Dreamweaver, a hugely popular application. We've got a lot of new features within that just released, haven't we? Particularly aimed at designers. Can you take us through some of those?
Yes, absolutely. We're very much focusing on the designer-developer workflow in this release. And as we saw earlier with Creative Cloud Extract, we've also brought that capability to Dreamweaver. So a web designer can open up a Photoshop file directly inside Dreamweaver. They can extract images, CSS, text, gradients, colors, a variety of different assets without even opening Photoshop. So really reducing the time to be able to develop those sites, but also it's more faithful to the original composition. We've also improved the live view editing experience with inside Dreamweaver. So now you can insert and drag and drop elements directly in live view. So you get this real-time feedback when you make changes to your page.
You can see instantly what you're doing there.
Exactly. Rather than having to hit preview and wait for it to load in an external browser, you get the changes there and then. And again, it's all about speeding up that whole process of design. And finally, the last thing we've added is a whole set of responsive templates to get you started. And you know, help you out on your projects there. And again, they're as I mentioned, they're responsive, so they adapt beautifully across devices. So all in all, you know, a great update to some of our most popular web design tools.
Absolutely, and it's really amazing, in fact, to see when you look at the development from Edge Animate since launch to now. It's kind of come on huge amounts, hasn't it?
Oh, barely recognisable, the changes.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favourite applications. Do stay tuned, because we've got another of my favourite applications for web and hugely popular with designers. Adobe Muse is up next. We really want to hear from you, so take part in our Twitter competition by sending in a creative tweet to tell us about your top Creative Cloud features. Our Adobe panel of judges will select their favourite tweet from each Northern European country: Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland and the UK. The winners will receive a 12-month membership to the Creative Cloud. But not only that, the overall tweet from all the regions will win a Microsoft Surface Pro 3. So get posting your tweets using the hashtag #CreateNow. The competition is open from midday on the 10th of November till midnight on the 13th of November. And you can see full details, terms and conditions at this URL. Good luck. I'm joined now by Andrew Cooper. Andrew, thank you so much for dropping in.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yes, I'm the creative director for Gravity Matrix, and I run a small team of designers, art workers, high-end creatives and a production team. And we produce campaigns from pencil sketch right the way through to the end process, end process being print, and also online and lots of digital work now, hence why I'm here.
Great. Can we take a look at some of your projects?
Absolutely, no problem
at all.
Thank you. Okay, so the type of projects that I work on will be, for example, I'm going to actually show you a pitch that I did that we won, which is fantastic. Essentially what I've got here are the way that we present, or I present, to our clients.
Yeah.
So this is Epson, this is the Epson Film Festival. So basically what they were going to do is to showcase their brand new projectors all around the country, and we come up with the key graphic to be able to showcase that. So it's nice and dynamic, it grabs the attention, and people obviously energised by it. So this is the way I work, the way that we work, is we put an inspiration board together. The presentation here, which I won't go through everything, but there's 5 concepts here basically. We lead with some inspiration to show the client this is how this is what we've been thinking. The young dynamic team has seen things on MTV, Channel 4, inspiration from all over the place, Behance from up north. Absolutely everywhere. We've put some pencil concepts together, our thought process on the left-hand side, and the strap lines, which I think are really important, that tie up to the creative on the right-hand side. The way I brief my team and my design team is that should the A3 presentation boards be seen by another creative director, sorry, a marketing director, then they should be able to pick up these concepts and understand exactly what their marketeer is actually doing and what they're trying to promote. So this is how we run.
You've really drilled it down by this point. To
absolutely. And what I find is because they're pencil concepts, we can actually get 5 concepts out in the time it would normally take for us to do Photoshop 1 concept in digital form. So it's a privilege to be able to go to a client and say, here's 5 concepts. This is our ideas. It's not finished. It's by nowhere near finished, but it's just inspiration and ideas. What they generally do is come back 2 days later. This is the concept we want to go for. Then we go to Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, etc. And it just streamlines the whole process. So that's one way that we work with the pitch process, but we also use Adobe Muse. Adobe Muse is really handy for the pitch process because it's very conceptual, very quick, easy to put websites together, and we found a lot of success. So as well as having the pencil drawings, we also have the ability to show something online.
Something quite dynamic then as well.
Absolutely. As soon as a client sees something moving, some animation, some videos that have been embedded from Vimeo, etc., it's absolutely fantastic.
Great, and you've got an example of one of the
Yes, I have.
there.
Yep. So this is a large pitch that we did for Johnson & Johnson. So this is BioPatch. It's a concept that I came up with a few years ago now, actually, but it's only just kind of come into fruition.
Yeah.
So it's to do with a war on infection.
Yeah.
It was quite a dynamic graphic in itself, anyway. That I come up with kind of the paint on the face. It was not sure, can we do this or not? So it was quite a challenging concept anyway. But what you'll see here is part of the pitch process that I delivered to Johnson & Johnson. I then showed them what we can do online.
Yeah.
And this for me was almost the pinnacle to our pitch, because not only can I show a nice looking homepage, I can talk about the products, I can show our creative move-in.
Can really show you've understood the project fully, and they can visualise it straight away, can't they?
Absolutely. A website for me is not just about putting something together that's just an online page. This is the heart of their business. I've put a training section in here which has Vimeo videos. There's a resources section which has downloadable PDFs. There's a social media section to show how they can use it socially, and obviously a contact call to action. So it really does become the heart of their business. The example I've got on screen here is actually, I used a Google map, but I pinpointed all the hospitals in the country. So very, obviously very relevant for those guys.
Absolutely. So you mocked all of this up in Adobe Muse, or built it all in Adobe Muse, a fully working website for the pitch itself. How long did it take you to do that?
Realistically, it probably took, bearing in mind the print artwork and the assets already there, it probably took 3 to 4 days.
So that's such a quick turnaround, isn't it?
Absolutely, and completely blew them away, which is just fantastic.
Won the business, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I'd like to say that, yeah.
And for those of you who aren't familiar with Adobe Muse, Adobe Muse is a program to enable you to build websites without writing any code. It's aimed at designers. How easy was it for your design team to pick up and start working with a project?
Very easy, purely because, in my opinion, the transition between InDesign and Adobe Muse is seamless, to be honest. The key commands are exactly the same: placing imagery, putting text in. Essentially, it's print artwork, but online. And to give my team, and to be completely honest with you, we're not coders, to give them the ability to be able to put a piece of artwork together for online, the transition was very super simple and a fantastic piece of kit, to be honest.
So you guys were early adopters of the Creative Cloud, weren't you?
Yes, very much so. From its conception, I think back in 2011, 2012, I was very lucky to be asked to be involved in the beta testing of the program. So from day one, I knew that it was going to be a very, very impressive program, particularly for myself, so a graphic designer and all of my team, to give the guys the ability to be able to produce websites. It's just fantastic. We don't need to employ web developers for this kind of stuff. There's still a place of web developers, quite clearly, but for the small, short, sharp websites that we are producing for pretty much every campaign, this is without a doubt the go-to program.
Yeah. So you work a lot with Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, I imagine.
Yes, very much so.
But what is it about Adobe Muse that's enabled you to do as a business that you couldn't previously do?
It just allows us to put our content online for our clients, for ourselves, but to be honest, the way that I approached using Adobe Muse and actually embedding it into my team, I sort of asked Adobe Muse all the questions before I pitched it into my managing director. So does it do SEO? Does it do jQuery slideshows? Does it support social? Is it responsive? It ticked all of those boxes. And what I found is every week I would go back to the application, it was updates with a new set of tools. And it's
That's the joy of the Creative Cloud, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It gives me goosebumps.
All the time.
It really does. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, great. And how has it impacted your business?
For me, it's turned the business upside down, purely because we were creative production led. So we were creating design for print. But for my team that obviously creates the design for print, to be able to create for online as well, it's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, the turnover has certainly gone up purely just to Adobe Muse. And it's crazy to say, it's fantastic.
Great. Well, I'm so glad you're getting so much out of it. I think it's a fantastic application. Of course, it has its place. It's brilliant for standalone websites, like you say, landing pages, campaigns, all of that sort of thing. And perhaps, as you say, also, you know, for more complex websites, you need more developer experience in there. But there's certainly within graphic design teams, it's almost a seamless process, isn't it, to move from, like you say, InDesign and other applications.
Yeah, absolutely. I find that we actually have a web developer on site as part of our team. He generally is the back-end data guy, setting the databases up. The way that Adobe Muse teams up with Business Catalyst is fantastic, and that's how I work it for my clients. Okay, here's the concept, fantastic. Let's go to Adobe Muse, let's team it up with Business Catalyst. So it's all hosted.
So you've got some
Adobe.
analytics, you've got some administration privileges that you can set up, all of that sort of thing.
Without a doubt, that's exactly what clients are asking for. You know, who's going on, when are they going on, where are they coming from? And like I say, to team up from Adobe Muse to Business Catalyst, it's great.
And this release of Adobe Muse is the first time we've had a 64-bit native application, so it's rock solid, super fast performing. So you've selected some of the key features and elements that you work with the most in Adobe Muse, haven't you?
Yes,
Can we take a look at those now?
Yeah, of course, this is actually my website, which I'm going to give you a quick show for you, if that's okay. But as you can see straight away, top right-hand corner, social media. So it links up to all my social media accounts. We have a nice interactive jQuery slider, contact information at the bottom. But for me, it kind of comes into its own with examples like this. So I'm just going to show you. So links off to other websites, text sliders and movables, so great for testimonials, stuff like that. Is a really great feature. To be able to download PDFs, at the top here we have a jQuery slider that sort of showcases all of my work commercially and on a personal level.
And how have you built these elements within the pages then?
These are all assets that are available in the library from Adobe Muse, which I'll just show you. Show you now. Great. So along the right-hand panel here, we have what's called a widgets library. A widgets library speaks for itself really in terms of you're allowed to put buttons in there, contact forms, menus, panels, slideshows, social media. They've covered off absolutely everything you will need for a website.
And you can put widgets inside other widgets, can't you, and kind of nest things in there. It's essentially creating div tags, isn't it? And
yes,
then sitting divs within divs.
Absolutely, absolutely. What I've also done here is you can see I've actually put a Tumblr blog into my website. So inside the iframe itself, Andrew's News is showcasing obviously the latest stuff that I'm up to. And that is just another extra element from the assets within inside the application.
So how easy is it to add a widget to a page? Can you show us?
To add a widget to a page, it simply is find the widget you require. So for example, okay, well I'm going to put a slideshow into my Muse file. I'll delete my Andrew's News blog just in the background there. And as you can see, simply with a drag and drop feature, you can have a slideshow, full screen, whatever size you require. This is what I love about Adobe Muse, and when I talk to my team about it, whatever we design, it will not move, it stays in place. Exactly what you see on screen is what you will get online. So,
because you're previewing, essentially you're previewing the website itself within the application as well, aren't you?
Absolutely, absolutely. You can preview the live elements, so live elements being the moving jQuery sliders, the way the social media works and stuff, and it effectively is a live link to what's happening online.
And how easy is it to customise the widgets that you then put into the page?
Customising the widgets are super simple, and for the InDesign people out there, it's effectively like putting a border on a box, colouring a background up. The widgets are simply as flexible as stuff like InDesign.
So the panels are really similar. You recognise the interface, do you, straight away from the other design applications?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very similar to InDesign, Photoshop, for example. Just thinking of Photoshop now, you'll see on the right-hand side here, there's a layers panel. So again, it's not just a flat website. You can build it up layer per layer. It's exactly like a PSD file. And so we're very used to stuff like that.
And I guess particularly if you put any scroll motion effects, which you can do with Adobe Muse in there, it's important to get the layers right so that they're moving correctly across each other.
I think that they've made it very user friendly because they're putting themselves in the designer's shoes and what is familiar to people like me. So Photoshop, I need to have separate layers because I don't want to get confused. So they really have taken that InDesign Photoshop mentality and put it into Adobe Muse.
So you're organising your assets in the same way that you would in Photoshop, and you know that you can select whole groups of things to move around all the time.
Assets obviously are links in InDesign, work exactly the same way, placing of JPEGs, even the key command to be Apple D is exactly the same.
Yeah, great, great. What else have you got to show us?
Okay, what I'd also like to just show is how easy it is to actually embed other social platforms. So for example, something like this. This is actually my Pinterest page, which I've embedded into my website. So the client goes on to my website or any website, they'll be able to see my inspiration board in Pinterest. You really can embed all the other platforms into Adobe Muse.
So how do you do that?
How I do that is I'll actually show you, I was going to go to the next page and show you how to embed a map, a Google map, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so this is my contacts page. So as you can see, everything is here that you should know about me. So my location, where I live, how to contact me, how to get in touch. It's got my Twitter on there. It's even got a live Instagram feed. But a client comes on board and asks for a Google map to be placed in. You literally, as simple as go to the widgets library, down to social, and as soon as you open up social, this is where all of the assets that are available to you to use, you can drag and drop exactly like the slideshow a moment ago.
So you've got Facebook integration in there now. This is all quite new actually, isn't it?
Very new, absolutely.
And you've got LinkedIn and PayPal options in there. You've got the ability to set up all of your social media icons, as you mentioned as well, and also embed YouTube and Vimeo videos as well.
Absolutely. Again, for me, Adobe Muse team have thought what would need to go into a website. No stone is left unturned. Everything socially is available for the likes of me to drop in. Okay, I need a PayPal link. No problem at all. It's all PayPal supported. That is it's fantastic.
Yeah, great stuff.
So let's put a Google map in the page. So click onto the widgets library. Again, all of the options come up, but down to social. Here are all of the social media options for you. I'm simply drag and dropping a Google map onto the page. At the moment, it's got the Adobe address, but bear in mind we're close to the O2. I thought I'd put the O2 in.
Great, let's see.
Have a play.
There is. That's super quick, isn't it?
And there you go.
And so that's talking directly to Google Maps there.
Absolutely.
Making that link for you.
Absolutely.
And that's the code embedded directly. So you're not even having to go to Google Maps, copy that code, set any of the sizes for the map or any of that there. You do it all from within the Adobe Muse.
Absolutely. And again, that is a fairly recent change because, like you say, you have to go to Google, get the dimensions, but now it is a simple drag and drop and then move the box to as big as you like.
Fantastic. What else have you got to show us?
Okay. I can also show you how simple it is to add contact forms. For me is actually really important. So a contact form, again, widgets library, back over to forms. Obviously, to have a website up, I'm simply just going to drag a form in position like that. And as you can see on screen here, it has who to send the email to. It has what the form's going to be called, cell phone numbers, even has BC capture, obviously for security and stuff like that. Single lines, multi-lines, they've really answered absolutely every question for a contact form.
So they've put some information in there for you, but you can also add multiple fields to that form as much as you like. And then you can presumably format those fields as well?
Yep, as simple as, like, again, very similar to InDesign. The functions are very similar. Click, you can change the colours, the borders, the typography, absolutely everything. For me, something that's really important here is that the contact forms can now be supplied to your host, and it will talk to your host as opposed to being Business Catalyst servers.
Right, okay. So how important is in-browser editing to your clients and CMS?
Yeah, it's very, very important. The clients would like to control their own websites, they want to control their own content, their images, and that is what Muse via in-browser editing gives you. It simply is a case of logging on to inbrowserediting.adobe.com. You input your URL address, your FTP details, really super simple data, and then it gives you access to your own website where you can change all of the text, all of the pictures, and what I find really, really important here is that although the client is going and amending their own website, you as an Adobe Muse user then get a notification to say your client has amended their website. Do you want to update your Muse file to be relevant to the current data?
Fantastic. Yes, so you're all in sync all the time.
Absolutely, very much
Great.
so.
And you can also check what they've done and make sure they haven't broken anything.
Yes, very much so, yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So in-browser editing, really useful capabilities there. What else have you got to show us?
So as you can see on the right-hand side here, these are all the resources that I've actually built, that I've collected, because they're the kind of stuff that I need to build my websites.
Got you. So you can build your own library of assets as you go.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then as well as that, you can click on the online button here, which will take you to a platform which will show you every available library element. So for example here, this is the Adobe Muse Creative Cloud area where we have featured add-ons.
So these are actually widgets and templates that companies outside of Adobe have built and uploaded here to sell or give away for free, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's a great resource section. So you can see these are the add-ons, and then we can go to the resource section on the Adobe Muse website.
There's a lot of companies now dedicating a lot of their business to producing these templates and widgets for us to use, aren't there?
Absolutely, and there are so many available. So what I actually decided to do is build a web page and a website just to show to my team what's available to them.
Great.
So when they go to concept a website, they can click onto this page here, and it will show them home, pinned, menus, elements, text scrollers. Everything you will need to build a website is in here as an example dummy website.
Great. So you've created some widgets that you've customized and changed yourself, and then they can easily access those and start using them within their projects as well.
Absolutely. With the native file, they can double click the Muse file. They have access to all of these effectively as a copy and paste into their websites and roll it out for their clients.
Nice. So really easy to work as a team.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So what else within Adobe Muse would you like to show us?
I'd like to show you Edge Animate, if that's okay.
There's great integration between Edge Animate and Adobe Muse.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Edge Animate is a very, very simple application to use. It's effectively HTML5 animation. It's very similar to After Effects, but a lot simpler is what I'd like to kind of say there. So I've actually built several HTML5 concepts, and I'd like just to show you one now.
I've noticed that you've got the lessons panel open in Edge Animate. Is that how you learn to use the software?
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty much like all of the applications, really. You know, the assets are there to be able to teach yourself, and to, you know, the evangelist showing you how that they use the programs, and that's exactly what I do.
Okay, great.
So what I've actually got here is just a simple animation. It's a casino roulette wheel that I put together, but obviously the dynamic element here is the spinny wheel and a nice animation and a strap line and stuff, just to show you. Again, it's just really engaging. Clients like to see something moving. The fact that Edge Animate teams up with Adobe Muse is absolutely awesome.
And previously, to create an animation like this, is that something you could have done yourself or within your team?
Yeah, we could do it with inside the team, but to be it's very difficult because it was obviously Adobe Flash, and Adobe Flash, obviously we need to go across all of the devices. We have to be mindful of that kind of stuff. So as soon as Edge Animate came along, again, it's my role to kind of have a look at the application. Is it easy to use? Can we get it out there to our clients? And with the Edge Animate automation with inside Muse, it's definitely something that we could learn in-house, very simple to use.
So when you've created an animation in Edge Animate, how do you get it into a form that you can then sit within your Muse design?
So just to show you here, this is a simple animation I put together on the train this morning.
Great.
And as you can see down here, it has the timelines, all of the elements, the images that I use, the pixel size of the actual document itself.
Yeah, so the left-hand panel kind of sets up all of the properties for whatever you currently have selected, whichever layer you've got selected within your
Absolutely, yes. And the process, I've simply just gone into Illustrator here, exported from Illustrator to PNGs. I've placed the PNGs into Edge Animate, and I've animated a simple I Love Muse, which I'm sure you'd like,
and of
animation.
course we've got SVG support as well for people who need scalable vector graphics within their websites.
Which is fantastic, because obviously that's available through the marketplace, the Creative Cloud marketplace, again available to everybody on the Creative Cloud. It's definitely something that we use a lot more now.
Great.
In Edge Animate, it's very similar to Adobe Muse, where I can go to File, once I've done the animation, File, Preview in Browser, and as you can see, it's a simple animation.
You love Muse, don't you?
Absolutely. And then, like you say, the process of getting it from Edge Animate into Adobe Muse, there's a particular file format that it can read. So I'll just show you that now. A simple Apple D place picture, instead it's an animation this time.
So you've exported it as an OAM package.
Absolutely.
Show us the setting for that, if you don't mind, within Edge Animate.
Okay, so basically what I've got here is my file, publish settings. All my settings are here. Very super simple animation, so it's just effectively publishing a .oam HTML file.
And I've noticed actually, while you've got this page up, when you're publishing for web, which creates all your HTML code, all your assets, etc., you've now got the ability to set the location for the images, audio, video, all of that. We've just mentioned that with my colleague Rupert earlier on, and it's a really key new feature, isn't it? So you can be very clear about how you're managing where those assets sit within your website.
Absolutely. Again, it's very similar to your InDesign and your Muse file. All your assets are in certain places. It's very, very controlled. And again, I feel that Edge Animate's really come a long way, and I'm just scratching the surface at the moment. Really. So it's a simple click and place the image or the OAM file into Muse.
And it's showing the first frame of the animation, but you've actually got a blank frame in the animations, which is why you're not seeing anything.
Absolutely. So I can simply preview through the program, through Adobe Muse, as you can see, or I can go online and preview through the browser.
And one more thing to mention, if we go back to Edge Animate, it's easy now to make sure that your animations are responsive and scalable, isn't it? So
yes, very much so.
All you need to do is to just select the responsive scaling box.
Which is here.
Yes, fantastic. So really important for those of you who are creating animations for multiple screen sizes. One tick box sorts it out, and you can choose whether it scales by width or width and height, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Andrew, thank you so much for sharing all of those tips. I'm so glad that you're getting so much out of Adobe Muse and you love it so much. And I hope all of you get to use it and benefit from it as well. We really want to hear from you, so take part in our Twitter competition by sending in a creative tweet to tell us about your top Creative Cloud features. Our Adobe panel of judges will select their favourite tweet from each Northern European country, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland and the UK. The winners will receive a 12-month membership to the Creative Cloud. But not only that, the overall tweet from all the regions will win a Microsoft Surface Pro 3. So get posting your tweets using the hashtag #CreateNow. The competition is open from midday on the 10th of November till midnight on the 13th of November. And you can see full details, terms and conditions at this URL. Good luck. Welcome back again to Martin Perhiniak, our designer in residence for the day. Martin, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, you use a lot of the additional Creative Cloud services, don't you, as part of your work? And you also have a big online creative profile presence there, don't you, through Behance and your blog. Can you talk us through why these things are important to you?
Of course. Well, Behance is amazing in a way that it brings designers together and all creative people, and not only online but also in events like portfolio reviews. So it's very important as a designer to have a great portfolio, but nowadays it's more digital and you have to have your work online. And Behance really is the best place to be because a lot of companies would look for designers, so you can potentially get a job and find clients will find you through Behance, and also to find inspiration from other designers. So one of the things I just wanted to point out, I have my Behance profile here, but being a Creative Cloud member, you actually have also access to the Pro Site feature, where you can even use your own domain, like I'm using it here, and have all your Behance projects, or just the selected ones, that you would like to show on your own domain. So that's also another great way to use Behance. And also, of course, when you are out and about and you don't have internet connection, you can use the app, the Behance Portfolio app, which I'm just going to open up, start up here. And you can see it's the same again, it's all synchronized. So you don't have to worry about copying files onto your iPad when you are going to an interview, for example. You just have the same stuff there as well, what you have on your profile.
Yeah, so you can upload projects to Behance, can't you, from directly within the desktop applications as well, like Photoshop, and then also from your Creative Cloud files or from any location on your computer. It's super easy, but then you can publish to everywhere, your Pro Site, and like you say, to your mobile apps
Exactly.
as well.
So you can just simply go whenever you have a project, you go to File, Share on Behance. And what I really like is that you can actually have the same project continuing. So if you have several stages, you can make it not public, but share it with your client through Behance, and then they can see the updates, so they can even compare what was improved from the previous stage.
And that's the work in progress.
Exactly. For
well.
designers, you have to work in stages. It's always like improving, amending, and you can actually keep track of all this on Behance. So when a client, sometimes clients can be annoying and they want to go back to things you already did once. So you can actually show, actually that was stage 2. Now we are just going in circles.
Sure. So it's a great collaboration tool as well.
Definitely.
Fantastic.
And then of course, you also have the Creative Cloud desktop application where you can keep track of all your files that you are sharing through Creative Cloud. So let me just show that as well to you. I can go to the browser when I have this already open. And here you can see it's the same file that I already used in the previous example. I can share these designs, Photoshop, Illustrator files with my clients. They can get access to it, and they can even see the layers, so they can turn them on and off. So they have really a good overview of what I'm working on currently. And again, this is something that syncs automatically. So if I save a file in my Creative Cloud folder, it goes automatically online.
And you've also got the ability to add comments to those documents as well. So again, you can use it as this collaboration workflow, can't you?
Exactly, it becomes really seamless that way.
Fantastic.
And another thing that I use all the time are the Adobe mobile apps, which also makes it easy for designers to be able to continue working when they are on the way, when they are out and about.
Martin, thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. I hope you guys can make use of those services as well. Now it's time to look at the brand new mobile apps in action as we hand over to Adobe Max.
Hey, I hear the voice of a preacher from the back room, calling my name and I follow just to find you. I trace the faith through a broken down television. I wanna get better. While my friends were getting high and chasing girls down Parkway lines, I was losing my mind because the love that I gave, wasted on a nice face. In a place of fear, I put a helmet on a helmet, counting seconds through the night and got carried away. So now I'm standing on the overpass, screaming at the cars, hey, I wanna get better. I didn't know I was broke until I wanted to change. I wanna get better, I wanna get better. I wanna get better.
A few months ago, we conducted our largest creativity study that we've done in years, and we got feedback from thousands of creatives. In fact, many of you were probably part of that as well. And you told us that you wanted to use mobile apps as part of your creative workflows, but that you also said that it's also very hard because they're not connected to the desktop workflows that you use day in and day out. So we took on that challenge and launched a whole new family of mobile apps in June that deeply integrate with your CC desktop applications. Let's take a look.
Photoshop Mix allows my workflow to be as mobile as I am. Being able to stand up, walk around the space, and everything's at your fingertips, just streamline the whole entire process. Selecting and erasing, enhancing, finding different looks at a touch of a button. I can make all sorts of different changes, and I never lose the original image. I can work on it anywhere, anytime.
Being able to work mobile and have it fully mixed in with my workflow has kind of made everything fun again. Using Sketch and Ink and Slide reminds me of when we just used to sketch in sketchbooks. It's not just a toy, it's actually integrated with apps we use on the desktop computer. It's just a blast to work this way.
When Lightroom Mobile came out, it made me realize how much of a real camera my iPhone has become. I have this incredibly powerful editing engine right there with me. I can pick them, reject them, do a little bit of light editing on them, and then go into Lightroom for desktop and make them look great. It allows that photo to transcend mobile photography and really become true photography.
For our class presentation, I'd done my drawings with Adobe Sketch using ink. You can switch between different tips, different textures and colors. It just makes the drawing experience so much more fluid. It really allows me to express my ideas wherever I am. It's just really rewarding.
Now, the amazing thing about these apps is that they use the same technology you find in the CC desktop apps, not an approximation, the exact same technology. And they deeply integrate with your creative profile. So they work well with your assets, and they understand our file formats. In other words, they work great standalone, but now for the very first time, they work even better as extensions to your CC desktop workflows. So with that as the context, I couldn't be happier to introduce you to our growing family of mobile apps, and I'd like to invite up Scott Belsky to do the honors. Scott? Take it away.
All right. Really exciting. Hope the internet gods bless us for this demo, because the apps are great. Today we are releasing a family of mobile apps that truly revolve around you. And all of them were conceived with the same set of principles. First, they're all built around your creative profile. So all of your assets are always in sync and always on hand, right? They enable you to capture inspiration around you and use it as you actually create. They extend the power of the desktop apps, enabling you to start projects on mobile and finish them on desktop. And they're all integrated with community, of course, so really helping you get feedback and exposure on your work in real time. Up until now, the mobile and desktop apps that we use have in many ways siloed our creativity. Sure, you can do incredible creation on your desktop using Photoshop and other Creative Cloud desktop apps. Yes, you can capture inspiration on your phone, and you can certainly create using all sorts of apps on your tablet. But the limits of what you can create and how you create are bounded by each of these devices, each of which kind of boxes us in, limiting us to the individual apps that we use and saving creations to our camera rolls. Well, creativity doesn't like boxes, right? Creativity should just flow. And this is our mission. Remove the friction and let your creative profile connect creativity across mobile, tablet, and desktop. Just as the Creative Suite connected creation across desktop apps over a decade ago, it is time for Creative Cloud to connect creation across all of the apps and devices that you use to create. So to get started, we focused on new apps in illustration, imaging, and video. For illustration, we have the Illustrator family of apps. Illustrator Draw is a vector drawing app. Illustrator Line is all about precision drawing and drafting. For imaging, we have the Photoshop and Lightroom family. Photoshop Sketch enables you to use custom brushes to sketch and create entirely new forms of art and design. Photoshop Mix enables you to combine and cut out images, apply looks, and make non-destructive edits to your photos. And Lightroom Mobile is just the perfect companion to Lightroom on the desktop. And then for video, we have the Premiere family. Premiere Clip is our first mobile video editing app that works across iPhone and iPad. We are also launching today an entirely new family of apps that we call Creative Cloud Capture Apps. Jeff just showed you Adobe Color, which lets you capture colors around you and bring them into your creative process. Well, today we're launching 2 additional capture apps that allow you to capture brushes and shapes. And as you're about to see, these capture apps just add this entirely new dimension to your creative process. But don't take it from me. The best way to understand the power and potential of these apps is to witness the workflows that they make possible. And we wanted to share a few of our favorites with you today. So let's get started with the Illustrator family. I'm proud to announce the all-new Adobe Illustrator Draw, formerly known as Adobe Ideas, and the world debut of Adobe Shape. For this example, I want to bring up my colleague, Jeff Dowd, Principal Designer at Adobe. Jeff.
Thank you. Hey, Scott. How you doing? Great to see you, man. Like many of you, I am a designer, and I've long been inspired by shapes and forms in the real world, whether it be the beautiful industrial design of Adobe Ink, or perhaps some typography on the side of a building on the streets of downtown LA. And I've long wanted to capture those shapes as real vectors and then use them in my graphic design work across my phone, my tablet, and my desktop. I'm super excited to say that that is reality today with the introduction of Adobe Shape. Check this out. Shape is a live vector capture app for the iPhone. I know, it's rad, huh? You can dial up and down the amount of contours. You can do fills or outlines. And what this will do is turn this into a real vector object that you can use, of course, in Illustrator. So, you know, no offense, but I actually would like to not take a photo of you, Scott, and do a photo of a book. Is that cool?
Good idea.
All right. So this is my man, Shu. He's a great graffiti artist, and he's got this book called Calligraffiti, and he's really excited that we're going to use it to capture this type today. So what I can do is I can come over here, just kind of like hover over it. I'm going to dial up and down, maybe go to the inside of that shape, right? That looks pretty cool. It feels good. And I'll snap the shape, and what the app is doing is it's taking that preview and giving me a sense of what I can kind of delete or keep in there. Right? Maybe I'll zoom in, make sure I got everything. It's pretty cool. It looks a little rough there, but that's okay. This is just a preview. What it's doing is Shape is drawing smooth curves that I can then use as a real vector. I'm going to go ahead and name it.
So Jeff is putting a name on the shape that he just captured. And then this shape will forever be associated with his creative profile. So anywhere he can access his creative profile in Illustrator, any of the desktop apps, any of the mobile apps that you're about to see, he can use this shape and bring it to the next level.
And check it out. There it is. I know. Cool. I think they like it.
That is cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a high-res vector captured from the environment. I mean, how cool is that? And you know, I'm signed in here with my Creative Cloud account. So there's my profile. So that means that these shapes will be with me wherever I travel, just as Jeffrey Bean was showing you a minute ago. You can see the other ones I have in here. That's great. It's a lot of fun to create a lot of shapes in here. But what I'd like to do is actually use this, of course, on the iPad. So can we go over there?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Now, we've got a great new app called Adobe Illustrator Draw, formerly known as Ideas. The first thing that we've done, and by the way, Draw is a vector drawing app for the iPad. So you can create beautiful, full-resolution vector drawings that work on the iPad, but then also back in Adobe Illustrator. One of the first things we did to this app in the time that we've had to work with this, we've made community drawings powered by Behance as part of this. So maybe you recognize some of the great work you've done in the past. Beautiful, full drawings. And then we've got a great new organizer. I'm going to go ahead and go into this. Then the other thing we did was we hooked up Adobe Ink, our Creative Cloud pen, with a fine point tip and pressure sensitivity. That means that over Bluetooth, I can do beautiful, simple marks, and I can see the marks that I make. It's awesome. Now, the other thing we did is, so we introduced, back in June, when we introduced Ink, we also introduced TouchSlide. TouchSlide is a digital ruler. Check this out. You can make parallel lines as you move across the canvas. You can tap to do different shapes or portions of. I mean, that's pretty amazing, right? You can also trigger different shapes like French curves. Every automotive designer will love that. You can't draw a car without a French curve, right? The reason why I'm showing you TouchSlide is that we use it to get to the shapes that I just captured. Over here in my shape menu, you can see I've got my creative profile, my shape library, and I'm going to grab, let's see if he comes in. There he is. I'm going to grab that same mark, Calligraffiti, that I just captured a moment ago off this book cover, is now here on canvas in the iPad app. With a double tap, I can stamp him right in place. I can scale him down, move him around, change the color maybe. Double tap that. That's pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Do you guys think it's cool? All right. Let's talk a little bit more about Draw. As I mentioned, Draw is a vector drawing app for the iPad, and that allows me to get beautiful high-res drawings. Look at this great drawing by my man Rob Zilla, one of our big-time Ideas users in the past. And this drawing has 11 layers in it, including a photo layer. And why I'm showing you that is that it's really important to know that all those layers come over to Illustrator when I share this drawing. So check this out. I'll tap in here. I can send to all the different apps. I'll send to Illustrator. So back over on the desktop now, you can see the drawing comes right in with all the different layers, all 11 of them. Those are editable vector paths from the iPad on Illustrator Draw to Illustrator on the desktop. As a designer, that's what I want. I want to be able to not waste any time and any work over here to then bring it over to the desktop. Now, what about that shape I just captured, that calligraffiti shape? Well, if you look over here in our panel, you'll see that I have my creative profile. I'm signed in, and all those same shapes are right there, including calligraffiti. So I can just drag it over to this canvas. I'm making a little comp here for an ad. Scale it up. Rotate it into position. like so. That's pretty good. And then move it over like that. Again, that's a real vector pad. You can see all those editable paths. So if I want to, I could distort this thing, but why bother? I mean, it was good like it was, right? Little Command-0 action. There you go. I mean, that's, again, from here to there, to there. What do you think?
Awesome,
All
Jeff.
right.
This is a connected workflow, right? All right, let's do it. Jeff, awesome. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Great work to your team. I mean,
Thanks,
amazing work.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. I think everyone gets the vibe here. So now let's shift to the Photoshop family. As you know, Photoshop isn't just one thing. Photoshop is used in so many different ways for digital photography, for digital painting and graphic design, and over time, we want to tackle all of these. But today, I'm proud to announce the new version of Adobe Photoshop Sketch and the world debut of Adobe Brush. For this demo, I want to welcome my longtime colleague and Adobe's mobile design leader, Eric Snowden.
Hey, thanks, Scott. So I'm super excited to show off Adobe Brush for the first time on the Mac stage today. And Brush is a capture application that lets you make brushes for Photoshop, Illustrator, and the new Adobe Photoshop Sketch from images. It's pretty awesome. It's universal on the iOS. I'm going to be using it on my phone. It works great on the iPad too, but this is the camera I usually have with me. So if you look inside the app, we've got a bunch of default brushes that were created using the application. We've got this really interesting, beautiful grass brush that if you sort of drag, it'll redraw, and you can actually preview these. A bunch of different sketches are actually created by drawing on paper and then repeated. Everything from that down to some really realistic looking brushes here. And that's the kind of brush I actually want to make today. So I'm going to go into my Creative Cloud folder, and I'm going to pull up something that I've photographed a little while ago. I've got this watercolor splatter, and this is on a piece of watercolor paper, just sort of drips of ink, but it creates a really nice pattern when you make a brush out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And right away, you see a preview across the top, and I can draw with it. And so I want to make some changes to this. It's not quite right yet. So if I click on Photoshop, I'm going to select that as my source. I'm going to go into crop and get rid of some of that unwanted noise around it. And then in the Refine tab, we have the ability to knock out the background. So it's got this paper texture behind it, which really doesn't add to the brush I want to get rid of. In settings, I can change the size. I can change the spacing. I can start adding some scatter and some jitter. And so this adds a little bit of randomness. It doesn't feel like such a precise pattern. It starts to feel a lot more organic. And this looks pretty good to me. I'm going to go ahead and save this. And so because I'm connected with my creative profile, this is being saved into a paintbrushes library, and it's going everywhere that I have this library hooked up. And
awesome. So here you can capture a brush using an image on your phone, something from Creative Cloud, or something around you, which we'll get to in a moment.
Yep.
But what do you want to do with this brush?
So I see a check mark, so I know this synced. Put my phone down, come back over to Photoshop. In the upper left-hand corner, here's that brush that I just created. I'm going to go ahead and grab a color, make it a little bit larger. And if I start painting, I can really start to add some texture to this background here. So a little bit of yellow, pulling different colors from this Creative Cloud library, and just creating like a fun splatter pattern that I could use as a background. So I went from my phone over to Photoshop in just a few seconds.
Amazing.
Cool.
So what else do you have to show us?
So for my next demo, I'm going to actually use some paper and some charcoal, so get a little bit dirty up here. So in Sketch, we have some really beautiful drawing tools. We've got a pencil that looks very realistic, pens, markers. We don't have a charcoal tool, but using Brush, I can actually make a new tool and add it into the application. So I've got this here.
I'm pretty sure between Jeff's book and your charcoal, there have never been this many analog tools in a digital demo.
Right, it's great using technology to bridge the gap between these two things. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my camera here. And so I'm going to take a picture of this mark. I'm going to try to actually get out of the way so you can't see my shadow. There it goes. Okay, looks good. I'm going to hit the check mark, say that's OK. And so I'm going to change a couple of these settings to be a little bit different. I'm going to set this to go to Sketch, because that's where I want this to go. For the type, I'm going to make it a ribbon brush, and that actually stretches this mark across a path, so it feels a lot more like how the mark would actually look. Make sure my repeat is set, and again, I'm going to crop out a lot of the unwanted area here, zoom this in a little bit, start to change how this repeats. And pretty quickly, I can start to build a really nice brush. Again, I'm going to go into Refine. In Refine, I can use this white masking and knock out the background. Let me grab this. There it goes. And then next. And I think those settings look pretty good. I'm not going to really mess with the size, the opacity. I'm just going to name this.
So while Eric is naming this, notice the zen of these capture apps, right? And the design language. They're very simple. They all work the same way. You capture something. You can edit it if you want to. You can get a little geeky with it. But then you save it. It's to your creative profile. You can use it anywhere. Once you know how to use one of these capture apps, you know how to use all of them.
Right. And so this is, again, syncing to this Paintbrushes Creative Cloud library. Anywhere that I'm connected, it's going to go over and give it that 1 second to sync. And so while this is syncing, I'm going to go ahead and launch Sketch. And so Adobe Photoshop Sketch, new naming for Sketch. It's a natural media drawing app, so using pens, pencils, markers, and now brushes created in the Brushes app. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this blank canvas here. And if I click on this new tool, our Brushes tool, you'll be able to see that there are brushes built into the application that were actually created using the Brush app. So we're using one of our apps to actually make tools that go into one of our other apps. It's pretty exciting. If I go into my Paintbrushes library, you'll see that splatter that I just made went over to Photoshop. Sketch can understand those brushes as well. If I refresh, I should be getting my charcoal brush.
Let's see here.
1 second. Internet.
Yeah, and they're saying that the syncing is, the internet's off and on.
There it
so,
goes.
there it goes. Great.
So that showed up. So I've got my charcoal brush here, and I can start to make marks with it. And if I zoom in, you see all of the, the little bits and pieces of charcoal that broke off. I mean, it looks really organic.
So no two brushes will ever be the same.
Right. Every time we go through this, it's just a little bit different. The charcoal breaks apart differently.
Yeah.
You can create tons of different versions of this.
So how crazy can you get with these brushes? I mean, this is a brand new tool to the world here. Where can it go?
It's pretty limitless, actually, Scott. So I'm going to go in and grab this brush. And this was made from photographs of flowers. So it creates this beautiful repeating image pattern in the background. We made this brush here out of bricks. Change a different color. I can start drawing with this. Really anything that you can capture with your camera. Even people, Scott. So I made this brush out of you. So
what a dapper-looking brush you have there, Eric.
And I'm not sure that this is a brush I would ever use. No offense, but I think it just shows the power of this application. Really, anything you can capture with your camera, you can make into a brush and start drawing with it. It's really amazing.
Amazing.
And so to that point, we have we have the Behance gallery built into Brush in the same, into Sketch in the same way that we do into Draw, and we can see really great projects. Looks like we're having a little bit of an internet problem here. Oh, there it goes. And so these are some illustrations that were created by one of the designers at Adobe, Eric Natsky, using brushes. You can see these don't look digital. They don't look like they were done on an iPad. They're really, really beautiful, expressive marks. It's really amazing what we can do with this application. Yeah. It's pretty exciting. So the last thing I want to show is actually sending this to the desktop. So I'm going to find an illustration that I've been working on here. And this is something I did completely in Sketch. And in version 1 of Sketch, we had the ability to send this to Behance and to Creative Cloud into our desktop apps as a PNG. It was flat. And that was really great for tracing or basic compositing. But we can do a lot better with that in this version. So this time when we click Send to Illustrator, if I go back over to my desktop, we've got this illustration over here. It's come through with all of the vectors, with all the lines. It looks just the same way that it does on the desktop, or sorry, on my iPad. And it's much higher resolution. This isn't a PNG. This is the actual Sketch file being moved over, so we can scale it up much larger. We can use it to print. It's much higher resolution. We've got a ton more flexibility. The other thing we can actually do is break it apart into its component paths. So as you've been drawing in Sketch, we've been marking every single vector you've made. Every single mark has been captured, and we can actually transfer this back into its actual vectors. Here we go. And if I go in here, I can start editing this. So I can start deleting out areas I don't like. I can start changing the color of things. I've really started drawing on the iPad, moved over the desktop, broken it apart, and I can continue editing on the computer.
So listen, Eric captured brushes, brought them into Photoshop, right? Brought them into Photoshop Sketch, made something, brought it into Illustrator to take it to the next level. Truly connected workflow. Eric, thank you so much.
Thanks, Scott.
So now let's shift to another key, Photoshop, a member of the family, Photoshop Mix. I'm really proud to invite up Brian O'Neill Hughes, product manager of Photoshop Mix at Adobe.
Thank you, Scott. Hello, everyone. Photoshop Mix is creative image editing on the go. Precise selective edits, powerful composites, and of course, deep integration with Photoshop. But before we talk about any of the editing features, what I want to talk about is access, right? Because of my creative profile, I can get to my images wherever they are. On Creative Cloud, that means my JPEGs, my PNGs, my PSDs, even the individual layers from my PSDs are available to me here. I can get to my thousands of images on Lightroom Mobile. I can get to all of my various social sites. But for editing, let's talk about some local files here. And these aren't just any files. These are full-res files. Now, when Mix first launched, we had support for 16 megapixel images. As of today, we have support for 24 megapixel images. So I like this image. It looks pretty good, but I want to go ahead and cut out the sky. So I'm going to pop in here and just drag my finger over the sky. I could select the full foreground, but it's a lot easier to come in here and just invert that. I'm going to go ahead and apply that, and let's drop in something a little more colorful. That looks good. I'm just going to tap on that to select it, pinch to zoom, and let's nudge that into place. That looks great. OK, thank you. So what's cool here is this is automatically backing up and syncing via Creative Cloud, and this non-destructive project will be available to me the next time I log in. Let's try something a little more challenging. That was a pretty straightforward example. And for this one, obviously, a lot of detail, a lot of foliage. This would be a really tricky edit anywhere, even in Photoshop. Luckily, we've brought over technology from Photoshop to solve this problem. And like Photoshop's Quick Select, we're learning about our selection as we go here. So we're learning more and more about it with each stroke of my fingertip here.
And so there are a lot of apps out there that will do some form of compositing and selection, but nothing with this level of precision or handling this level of an image size. Is that right?
That's right, absolutely. Full-res images, deeply integrated. Now, I can send that over to Photoshop whenever I'm ready, and it'll come in as a layered mask PSD. So we've talked about using Creative Cloud with our creative profile to get to our images. We've talked about using it to translate images to a language that Photoshop understands. Let's talk about something totally different and really unique to Mix, which is Photoshop Magic. So this image here, I want to get rid of a couple of distracting elements. Now, we're doing something really cool here. I can actually use content-aware fill. And the way that this works is I'm going to select the distracting parts of this image, these branches, and that bird over there. And once I'm happy with my selection, I'm going to hit Cloud Fill. It's going to send that image up to Creative Cloud, process the image there, and then it's going to pass the result back to my iPad here. And the result that I would get is that my image would actually have those things removed from it. Now, as this is working, I'll tell you, we could do this with shake reduction. We could do this with upright, which is perspective correction. And in all of those cases, this is a really unique way of leveraging Creative Cloud because we're literally using it as a processing environment.
And it's literally taking 10 times longer than this morning when we did it without all the 10,000 devices in the room.
I think we'll all wait for it. We'll give it just a second to do its thing. Magic sometimes takes a moment.
Understood. And so this is one of the cloud operations that we've added into the app, and there are a few of them that were.
And in this case, just like the others, it's literally running Photoshop features available on mobile. Let's give it just a second. I have faith that it's gonna finish up here for us. TikTok.
And if you wanted, we could go over and I could tell you when it goes. Let's see. Yeah, you may as well.
OK.
So let's move over to the desktop.
Take a really quick look at the files on the desktop, which have already opened over here. And we'll see that when we come in here, these are full-res files with detailed masks. So if I look in the lower left-hand corner, that's a 65.8 meg composite. It's a full-res composite. Let's look at this other image. I'm zoomed into 100% on this one. Again, high-res file. And I'm just going to come into my mask edge here. Let's switch that to black and white. And let's just come in here to Smart Radius and do some of the stuff that I could only do in Photoshop. And yeah, I can start getting an even better mask. So that's what we came in with from our fingertip. And this is what we ended up with after refining it. So we took that really, really far.
So
yeah.
real clear connected workflow between iPad, Photoshop Mix, and Photoshop on the desktop. Now I know that the most requested feature, though, from people who were early adopters of Photoshop Mix was, give me some of this power on my phone.
Yeah, absolutely. So folks have been asking for this on the iPhone, and I'm really thrilled to announce that as of today, Photoshop Mix is available on the phone. All right, so I'm excited too. Let me show you how this works here. So I'm going to come in here, and I have access to all of my same files as before. I can get to everything just as I could on the iPad. But I'm going to go with a couple of local files here. And speed is really the name of the game here. So with this image here, it's dark. It needs a lot of tonal adjustments. And I could do those individually here, but I'm going to take a chance on auto and see what it gives me. That's after, that's before, after. I'm telling you guys, this is the best auto in the business. Later on, once you've left, pull down Mix and try auto on the dark images you're shooting in here, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It works. OK, let me show you one more. OK, so here's a picture of my little boy, and I want to cut him out from the background. Now, again, I could do this manually, but on the phone, this is all about speed. So in this case, I'm just going to hit auto, and it's automatically going to knock him out from the background. I can come in here and touch that up a little, but in just a couple of seconds, it's automatically selected him and pulled him out of the background.
Really cool. So some of the, just taking some of the best Photoshop features that are on the iPad, bringing them to the iPhone, and also adding some new kind of quick service features that leverage the power of Photoshop. And I also have to say, I really admire your elephant picture that is branch-free and bird-free. It looks beautiful.
Yep.
I don't know if we can get the,
iPad
get it on
back
the
up,
side cam or something. Not planned, whatever.
There we go.
Hey, there you go, OK.
Before and after.
OK, there you go. So
right.
it did work. Good.
Thanks, everyone.
Brian, thanks again, and congrats to your team for all the great work.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Scott.
thanks, Brian.
Thanks.
So as you can see, these apps enable this new level of creation and compatibility just never seen before. Things are really working together, which is great. Now let's shift to video apps. These days, we are capturing video with multiple devices at a higher frequency than ever before. And you're seeing all kinds of stuff like this, right? People running around with everyday devices, capturing video like pros, and the quality is only getting better. But for the most part, this video has remained stuck on the device. Well, how can you easily edit all of these clips across all of your devices? And what if you could do all of this with the option of bringing it into Premiere Pro to take it to the next level? I'd like to invite my colleague Megan Keane from Adobe, from the Premiere Pro team and a filmmaker herself, to introduce Adobe Premiere Clip. Welcome, Megan.
Thank you, Scott. I am super excited to be here to show you guys Adobe Premiere Clip. Premiere Clip is an app that allows you to create and edit videos all on your mobile device. As Scott said, I'm a filmmaker by trade. But even in my life, there are times when I want to create a video and I just want to keep it simple. This is why Premiere Clip is so awesome, because as a designer or a photographer or an artist, you can create videos having never seen the inside of Premiere Pro. Of course, if you're well-versed in Premiere Pro, Premiere Clip is another great tool to add to your toolset. So for example, my sister is a fashion designer, and I recently captured some iPhone footage at a shoot she was doing for the upcoming season of her line. So I want to take that footage and create a short video that she can use for social media, sort of a sneak peek getting, behind the scenes of the shoot. Getting started on Premiere Clip is super straightforward, because I can either access video files saved to my Creative Cloud or directly from my camera roll. So I just select the clips I want to use. And getting started is as easy as that. Now, all of the clips are added to my sequence in the order that they were shot. So if I want to change that order, I just drag and drop. Right here on my iPhone, I can do all sorts of work with exposure and highlights, audio, even add slow motion. But personally, I like to capture on my iPhone, but when I want to do more editing work, I like the larger real estate of an iPad. So let's switch over to the iPad.
So it's important to point out. So Megan could have done all of her editing on the iPhone, but because of the creative profile at work, every clip that she added, every edit that she applied was saved, so she can pick up right where she left off. And this point, you want to pick up on the iPad.
Absolutely. So you can see that my creative profile is right there. There I am. And here's my project. Now, I love to edit to music. So adding a music cue is just as straightforward as adding a new video clip. You can either access music saved on your the music library in your device, or you can use one of the built-in themes in Premiere Clip that are all pre-licensed, so you have no worries about the legalities of the music that you're using. So let's see how this cue looks with this. Yeah, I think that works with the feeling of the piece. So the other thing I noticed is that this clip here is 20 seconds long, where all of my other clips are like 5 to 8 seconds. So I want to shorten this clip, but I love this lens flare right there at the beginning. So I'm going to pull this back from the back. Let's see. Yeah, that's much better. Now, because this is all about the clothing and the rich, graphics on the textiles, I'd like to add a preset color grade that'll just bump up the colors. Now, Premiere Clip has all these great built-in color grades that you can choose from.
And I should note that these come from the Speed Grade collection. So these are some of the most popular treatments used by professional colorists and video editors.
Absolutely. You can do anything from something really extreme, like this Dreams, which is a little more extreme than maybe we're going for in this shoot. Or you can do something, that just really bumps up the colors, but keeps in keeping with the original feel of the shoot. Yeah, like that. I think that works really well. OK, so I'm really liking the way that this is working. So I could share it directly to social media right here from Premiere Clip. But there was one shot that I actually would like to do a little bit more with, and I'd love to leverage the full feature set of Premiere Pro. So I'm going to send it over to my desktop.
And so again, creative profile at work here. You can jump right over to Premiere Pro on the desktop.
Absolutely. And you'll notice that once I bring in my Premiere Clip project file, not only do you see all of the clips that we started with over in Premiere Clip, but also my full timeline started on my iPhone is now available to work with in Premiere Pro. So awesome, right?
Very awesome.
OK. So I mentioned there was one clip that I wanted to do a little more with. It's this one here. The light on the clothing is really beautiful, which is really the point of this. But the model's face is a little overexposed. So I want to apply a color grade that will only affect her face as she moves through the clip. So I'll just apply that color grade. And now, all new in this version of Premiere Pro, we have a free draw pen tool. Of course, we're working with a face on this, so I'm just going to go ahead and use an ellipse, put it right over her face. Okay. And all new in this version of Premiere Pro, I can manipulate the feathering right here in the program monitor. So no need to futz with the numbers over here. And wait for it, the best part, Premiere Pro's tracking of this mask will follow the model's face as she moves through the clip. So it's only applying the effect to that face.
So super, super awesome. There you have it. Premiere quality editing across iPhone, iPad, and finishing your work in Premiere Pro. Megan, thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott.
So we have only covered just a few of the types of workflows that you can do with the latest mobile apps, but I hope you get a sense of the possibilities. Let's review the full lineup. 3 Creative Cloud capture apps: Adobe Color, Adobe Shape, and Adobe Brush. Now you can capture real-world objects with the phone you always carry as immediately usable professional design assets. This is like digital sampling for the new modern creative, and we're super excited about them. We have the, all right, really exciting, I know, yes. You can hold applause, whatever, it's up to you. We have the Illustrator mobile family, Illustrator Draw, Illustrator Line, which we didn't get to demo today, but there's just a great version that's hitting with more precise drawing and drafting than ever before, great stuff. The Photoshop and Lightroom mobile family, Photoshop Sketch and Photoshop Mix, a new version of Lightroom Mobile. And to kick off the Premiere mobile family, we have Premiere Clip. So it's an exciting lineup, and it is fair to proclaim that starting today, these mobile devices are no longer those silos of creation, and mobile creative apps are no longer toys. Today, we start this new era of connected creativity. But here's the only thing. Adobe isn't the only company that makes creative apps. You should be able to use any creative tools that you want and still have a connected experience with access to the stuff in your creative profile. So this past June, we announced the private beta of the Creative SDK. Creative SDK opens Adobe's technology to third-party developers to connect the next generation of creative applications. The latest release of the Creative SDK includes a rich, rich collection of Adobe's core technology with access to Creative Cloud. Many of the features that you've actually seen today in the Illustrator and Photoshop and Premiere mobile apps were actually made possible by the Adobe Creative SDK. Things like, a lot of the stuff behind me, as well as browsing and using any asset from Creative Cloud, extracting from PSD files and pulling something into a mobile app, Lightroom photo access, just to list a few of the ways that we're opening up Adobe technology. We're also thrilled to welcome the Aviary team to Adobe. The Aviary team, and I know a few of them are here, so we're really excited. These folks are veterans and pioneers in designing SDKs for mobile creation and building a vibrant developer ecosystem. Aviary has built a photo editing platform that powers thousands of mobile apps. And already our teams are brainstorming the things that we can do together to further extend the capabilities of Creative SDK. So the Creative SDK has a fantastic roadmap and becomes publicly available today. And we've already actually been working with a lot of developers, of course, to leverage the SDK ahead of time. And to show us one example, I'd like to invite up Jake Nickel, co-founder and CEO of Threadless, along with Alex Solis, a designer and a Threadless artist. Welcome, guys. Hey, Jake. Hey, Alex. So, welcome, guys. I see that Alex is hooking up here. And you have Illustrator Draw loaded up on your device. So we'll let you get to work. And Jake, tell us about Threadless.
Sure. So at Threadless, hundreds of thousands of artists from all around the world submit designs on our website. And then they get scored, and we make physical products out of the best designs, like T-shirts. So today, we're super excited. We're announcing a new iPad app called Threadless Make. And so our artists have been asking for better ways to mock up their designs.
Well, let's just make sure we get it loaded up there. Oh, we're good.
Wait for it to get up on.
Don't want people to miss you at work here. All right.
So yeah, artists are asking for better ways to mock up their designs. They're taking touch devices a lot more seriously as creative tools, and they're working a lot away from their studios and away from their desks. So we teamed up with Adobe, and we used the Creative SDK to create this app that allows artists to mock up, create, submit designs to Threadless. So Alex is working here on his latest design. Just finishing it up here.
Very cool. So I see that you're pulling in a shape, which you must have captured with Adobe Shape earlier, and a Max logo from our name tags, maybe? I don't know. That's cool. All right, thank you.
Yeah, you grabbed the Max logo earlier using the Shapes app.
So now you're jumping over to Threadless Make.
Yep. So, and Make is connected to Creative Cloud, so he'll be able to pull in that drawing in a minute here. But first, he's going to choose what color shirt he wants to use. So we print on guys and girls, all kinds of different colors. So he's going to choose a guy's silver tee, and then pull in the drawing by visiting the Creative Cloud section of the app.
And so this is using one SDK component called the Asset Browser, which any third-party app can use to let people bring in the stuff that they've created with all of the mobile and the desktop products.
That's right. So he just pulled it right in, placed it where he wants it, and then he can also grab assets from the Creative Cloud Market here. So he's going to pull an alien icon.
All right, appropriate. And again, another component that any third party can use, and with an Adobe ID, you get access to all your content.
Yeah, it's a pretty great feature because thousands of assets that you can use for your T-shirt designs. But the best part of the app is having access to all your Creative Cloud files. So here he's going to grab our style guide and extract our layer.
So this must be a PSD that you guys have, sort of with all of your various versions of the logo, and you can just circle and identify a layer that you want to extract from the PSD, and then bring it into the mobile app that you're using.
So yeah, so he just grabbed our logo, and he's going to throw it on the skateboard there and place it.
Awesome.
And now to preview the design, he can do a little bit more fine-tuning, place it exactly where he wants it, and publish it. So when you publish, there's a lot of different options. You can save it off as a PSD and go right back to desktop and work on it some more. You can push it to Behance if you want, and you can share it with social media, and you can also post it right to Threadless for voting right from here as well.
And then pray for votes.
That's right, pray for
really
votes.
Really cool. Guys, Threadless Make.
Thank you.
Really cool. Thank you, guys. And we have a special a version of Threadless Make that's in the Connected Creativity area outside, so in the convention center. So you can go and make your own shirt and print it on demand. It's really, really cool. And that's just one example. We're working with a ton of other app makers, including the folks represented behind me, and hopefully many, many more to come. A couple of just quick call-outs. We're working with Paper by 53. We'll be bringing the capability of publishing to Illustrator and Photoshop into their app, Paper. We're also working with Moleskine, launching an app that lets you capture sketches in your notebook and then bring them into Illustrator. So super cool apps to look out for. All of these SDK capabilities that you've seen today that we were just talking about are available now for developers in iOS, and we're working on Android and Windows Universal Components as well. So stay tuned on that. So here we are. This new era of mobile creation has begun. With all of the apps that you saw today, and the Creative SDK, we can't wait to see what you're going to create with all of this new technology. Thank you.
We really want to hear from you, so take part in our Twitter competition by sending in a creative tweet to tell us about your top Creative Cloud features. Our Adobe panel of judges will select their favourite tweet from each Northern European country, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland and the UK. The winners will receive a 12-month membership to the Creative Cloud. But not only that, the overall tweet from all the regions will win a Microsoft Surface Pro 3. So get posting your tweets using the hashtag #CreateNow. The competition is open from midday on the 10th of November till midnight on the 13th of November. And you can see full details, terms and conditions at this URL. Good luck. A big thank you to you for watching, and also a massive thank you to the creative professionals who have taken time out to share their tips with us. If you're interested in sharing the work that you've produced using the Creative Cloud, and also your tips for getting the most out of the applications, then do get in touch with me via Twitter @CreativeSneaks. Do take a look at the digital imaging and the video and motion graphic shows. Details for those will follow at the end of this show. But now to finish, we are going to take a little look into the future of collaborative team working with the fantastically tactile Project Context, shown at Adobe Max in LA.
Hey, I hear the voice of a preacher from the back room, calling my name and I follow just to find you. I trace the faith through a broken down television. I wanna get better. While my friends were getting high and chasing girls down Parkway lines, I was losing my mind because the love that I gave, wasted on a nice face. In a blaze of fear, I put a helmet on a helmet, counting seconds through the night and got carried away. So now I'm standing on the overpass, screaming out the cars. Hey, I wanna get better. I didn't know I was broken till I wanted to change. I wanna get better, I wanna get better.
And as you know, Satya, we're working on many, many areas. There's touch, there's audio, there's speech. But one of the things we shared with the crowd here last year was we were working on this project called Project Context, which is all about, at the end of the day, creatives really care about displays and pixel perfect and how they do collaboration. So we'd love to show you something we're working on your PPIs.
Yeah, that's great, because one of the things that we've been very focused on is what does the creative process, in our case even productivity, mean in large screens? And
That's
PPI
right.
is a fantastic example. For us, it's about meetings and collaboration, and it's great to see you take that and obviously bring it to the Creative Cloud.
So I have one of your Perceptive Pixels right here, And I have a project that we've been playing with. Many of you saw Context last year, and we've been looking at the way we can bring more design into tools like that. I love this Perceptipixel screen. Not only is it bigger, which is awesome, but I love this because this is actually changing the way that we design our software, because working in this space, it's making it social. We can stand around it as a group and interact with it. We can all go up there and touch it. In fact, let me create a new document. And so using one finger, I'm going to start to draw on this space, but I can use multiple fingers if I want. And now I have my creative profile up above, and we can just start dragging images down into here and start laying it out. Right? Pretty cool, right? Swap some images out. I can resize this. So this portion of the design program is great for sketching. We can just stand around and rough out some ideas. But
I'm sure you love, Josh, the fact that 2 CEOs are actually helping you with this collaborative comp, right?
No pressure at all. I deal with it every day. So I'm going to go into another document here. Now I've moved into our editor workspace. Now in this space, you can see I've got all my InDesign tools inside this space, and I can go and change the typography and the layout and all the structure that I want to. But I'm going to show you something even cooler. When we're working on documents like this, what we often have to do is iterate across a bunch of different form factors. So maybe we're going to take this website and put it on a phone or a tablet, or maybe we're going to make some banner ads off of the site. Well, to iterate across all those different versions really quickly can be time-consuming. So we've got a way to be more intelligent about it. I'm going to grab the document with 5 fingers, and when I do, I now get a layout Kickstarter at the bottom. And you can see I've got some layouts that are like a phone and ads, etc. I'm going to kick one of these out, and when I do that, it now has generated a skyscraper ad off of this website for me to get it going. Now, cool, right? I didn't have to do any work. Now,
can you write on this as well?
Well, we can. So we can look at that ad, and now since we're in this collaborative space, we can talk about whether that is good or not. So maybe, Satya, if you would, maybe give me your signature, or...
Okay. Man, this is pretty sensitive. Cool.
So we can go and we can write in this space and comment on it, and if that image isn't the right image, then I can just go right up to my creative profile. I'll drag another image on there and replace that and update it, and we can keep on going as we continue to iterate inside these documents. So that's cool, but once we've done that, the interesting thing is that I can pull up my layout Kickstarter again, and I'll throw up a couple more of these. And now you'll notice that every other one that I kick out has now learned from that change that I've made, and then updated every other one along the way. So as we iterate, the system will learn, and it'll get better, and it'll help us iterate much faster.
This is the whole idea around responsive design as well, but it could not happen without the magic of what you're delivering in hardware and software plus Adobe. That was great, Josh. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Josh.
Thank you.
It's great.
Thank you, Shani.
Hey, I hear the voice of the preacher from the back.